Trevor Lawrence is probably closer to a bottom 10 QB in the NFL than he is a top 10 QB.
If Trevor Lawrence had my haircuts, this would have been over with a while ago, the talk with this.
Going straight to the top. Just put the sec on the clock. I am Ray Allen's a shot. I'm going straight to the top.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Mike here with Sports in the Real Podcast coming at you once again. Appreciate y'all joining me. Got a special guest coming at you with Mr. Ryan Schofield of the Scho-Zone Podcast. So I want to talk some football, talk some basketball. Got Ryan here on the other end joining me. Week 6 of the NFL wrapping up. Ryan, what's going on, man?
Not too much, Mike. Thank you for having me. I'm really in good look. I think we're going to have a good time tonight. I've been, a little riffing we've been doing offside. I think this is going to be good, and it's going to be, fun conversation.
That's right. I'm sure it is. Just speaking with you offline, I know we're going to have some good stuff to talk about. Before we get started, guys, don't forget to subscribe and like and share and comment and all that stuff. And check out the website, sportsinthereal.tv, sportsinthereal.tv. Let me know what's up, how you feel about our take. So let's jump into it. So like I said, it's week 6 of the NFL. And I wanted to record this and get this take off. I need to get your feedback on this, Ryan. So I've talked about Trevor Lawrence on this podcast a couple of times about where Trevor Lawrence ranks and whether he should have gotten paid and the money he got paid and all that. But after watching this weekend's game of Trevor Lawrence in London, I am ready to say Trevor Lawrence is probably closer to a bottom 10, bottom 7 QB in the NFL than he is a top 10, top 7 QB. At this point, I think the experiment might be over with Trevor Lawrence as being this God-sent quarterback that he came out of Clemson to be. And by the way, for those who aren't familiar with my podcast, I thought Trevor Lawrence was that guy when he was coming out. Matter of fact, I thought Trevor Lawrence, when he was a freshman at Clemson, was going to light up the league. And now I'm probably out on the Trevor Lawrence is about to be the next GOAT experience. Like I said, I think he's closer to the bottom 5, 7 than he is to the top. And I need people to stop making excuses for T-Law, man. I know he has great hair. He's athletic. He has a strong arm. But bro is still making mistakes at this point of his career that other quarterbacks don't get excuses for. You can say it's the coaching. He's gone through different coaches, whatever. At some point, we got to treat him like we do everybody else, right? We stop making excuses for the likes of Baker Mayfield and other guys. We're like, yo, this guy, he's not going to be the guy. Let's get rid of him, trade him. They need to cut him. Don't re-sign him, whatever it is. But right now, I don't see enough people in the national media saying, hey, man, Trevor Lawrence, he looks the part, but he doesn't play the part. Something is missing. So I have officially checked out of the Trevor Lawrence hype train. I thought he was going to be that guy coming out of college. I don't think he is anymore. I'm out. What do you have to say, Ryan?
I sold that stock 2 years ago, I want to say, so I love it.
Are you serious?
You echoed a couple of takes I liked here, okay? So for starters with this one, everything you said about him as Clemson, 100% true. And he had Dabo. Dabo is a great coach, okay? Now he goes to where he doesn't have, Urban Meyer will give him the pass on that one.
That's right. I gave him a pass for Urban Meyer.
Because, Urban Meyer, just a little bit of a train wreck. I can relate with him a little bit, I guess. He cares about going out to feel up on some fucking young booty rather than, going home with the team like he did that one time. But I've said this for a while that if Trevor Lawrence had my haircuts, this would have been over with a while ago, the talk with this. Realistically, the way I look at when you look at his contract, okay, we understand where you were drafted. You were drafted number 1 overall. And I think that because he was billed up by media members as this next, can't miss thing, tank for Trevor or whatever the fucking hell the campaign was, they can't just let go that easily because old takes exposed. Because also, which is pretty shitty with media, if you change your mind, it's bad.
You can't change your mind.
I'm married to this take for the rest of my life. I can't say, he was good and then something happened.
Bad.
But he has not to show it. He does have the size. He looks like the measurables, but the measurables aren't what necessarily make us. We were just talking about a guy who does not measure very well before we started this, and you were saying, well, he's still a freak, though. The guy, Brent Grimes, we were just talking about off air. Yeah. That guy, you wouldn't measure him up if you were putting him up against D-backs and saying, oh, well, he's going to be any good. But then you put him out there, people respond to things. Trevor Lawrence, he's getting every excuse in the book out there. I mean, he plays in a weak division, so even when he did have that good season, and the playoff win was not as much about him as it was about Brandon Staley pulling off one of the best choke jobs as a coach.
Hell no.
The big arm, you know what's great about a big arm? Is if it actually makes the ball to the guy. He overthrows everybody by about 10 feet. Every receiver of his is catching it like they're my heights, but they're fucking 6'4", and they still have to jump up that high. So it's always been a little bit missing, and I think that also, it just doesn't seem to have. As a gambler, I always go on the how do I feel having money against this guy? How do I have money on this guy? Is a way I use my intangible factor. I will bet against Trevor Lawrence fucking sight unseen almost.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is about him, man. Like, again, he looks the part, but the play, like this, I don't know if you watched the game on Sunday, bro. Like, he threw some balls and he threw picks. He's like, man, what is going on? Like, you have to see that. Like, and it's crazy because the media usually after, like, when somebody, I'm a Dolphins fan, so like when Tua plays bad, like the media is all over Tua. Like, and I'm not even the biggest Tua fan, right? Like, I didn't think Tua was going to be that great out of college. I thought he was surrounded by a bunch of 5 stars, and coming to the NFL, you're not going to be surrounded by 5 stars everywhere.
I don't like Trevor Lawrence.
He ended up getting Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, and he looks pretty good, but he has his limitations. But when Tua plays bad, the media goes ham on him and goes crazy. But Trevor Lawrence, number 1 pick in the draft, ho-hum. Maybe it's the market, whatever it is, bro. But Trevor Lawrence doesn't get nearly as much heat as some other guys do, who he's probably more on par with than not.
I 100% agree with you on it. And again, if he was, let's just take again, he was drafted at number 1 overall. But when it came to the contract thing, if he was a 3rd round, it's not where you came from, it's where you are right now. If he again had a buzz cut and was drafted in the 3rd round, he would be on another team right now. Am I right? I mean, because we got guys like Kirk Cousins that go from team to team, and Kirk Cousins is twice the quarterback that fucking Trevor Lawrence is.
Facts. So because he looks like Fabio, you think he gets the benefit?
I don't want to say it, but it's always been my whole thing of that. He does have that draw to him of that. They didn't want sunshine, Goldilocks to be something. But I mean, seriously, if I was him, I would show up with a shaved head to tell the team, hey man, it's a new me. Like, not just say you're new. Let's actually get the look the parts. Do something dramatic. Go Britney Spears. Make it seem like that losing drives you crazy. Like, because it doesn't even seem like he always has that blank stare on the sidelines. Or I think at the one game he may have threw a hissy fit would be the way I describe it.
Yeah. Like he just needs a bit of edge around him. I don't know, man. He's just too cool. So let me do this, right? For people who don't believe me, who are like, I think he's higher than, the bottom tier. Let's go through the teams here and see which quarterback would you pick, Trevor Lawrence or that team's quarterback. So AFC East, we got the Bills. You're not taking him over Josh. Dolphins, are you taking him over Tua? I'm probably not.
Tua at least he has his own limitations. Well, we can't argue with that, but Tua gives you a chance to win.
Tua plays his role. Tua plays his role well in that offense.
Yeah.
Patriots need a quarterback. They got Drake May about to start now, I guess, over Jacoby. So
which is going to be a disaster.
Maybe we'll take him over Drake May, rookie.
At least with Drake May, here's the thing. I don't know with Drake May, so I'll take the shot on him because it's not going to be hard for him to be, if he actually is a bona fide NFL quarterback, it won't be hard for him to be better than him. Will he be better this year? Probably not. But if you were to put Drake May on the Jaguars, you probably would be starting Drake May out of the gates. No, I'm not saying against Trevor Lawrence as the quarterback, but there's no reason to put Drake May into the fire that he would be in New England with. I mean,
you're right, with the team around him. 100%.
No offensive line, no skill position players. You got a running back with a fumbling problem. That's all you have.
Yeah, 100%. Jets, are you taking him over Aaron Rodgers, old Aaron Rodgers?
No, old Aaron Rodgers can at least still, like, he actually knows the game, so, I mean, the ability is gone a little bit, but you notice Aaron Rodgers has control of the line of scrimmage as far as when he's setting guys up and everything, and, yeah, he can be a difficult guy to deal with, I'm sure, at sometimes, but usually most good players are difficult to deal with. Did you ever experience that? Like, the best player on any team I ever played on, and one time that may have been me at one point in time, we get the most fun to work with. We want everyone to be
100%.
us. Or as them, I guess. I'll stop talking about myself, about my lofty high school lacrosse career.
We'll touch on that later. So AFC East, he probably gets a nod over Drake May, even though if Drake May is on the Jags, he's probably getting a start. All right, AFC South. Texans, no.
Not even close.
Colts are starting Joe Flacco right now over Anthony Richardson. I'm probably taking him over Anthony Richardson.
Taking him over Anthony Richardson too. I think Anthony Richardson's going to be he's going to be that crazy girlfriend that, like, 9 dates out of 10 is going to drive you crazy, but that one day when she gives it up, man, it's going to be fucking fun.
Is amazing. yeah. Anthony Richardson is he's going to get some coaches fired, man, because his potential is out of this world. I mean, I'm watching this guy. Sometimes he'll make like this ridiculous Josh Allen type throw, and then the next throw is like the most basic thing is like he's throwing a pick. So, all right.
He can do things only he can do, but they're not things you have to do. You shouldn't have to do. It's nice to have that in your back pocket, but, like, I remember seeing him throwing a 60-yard touchdown off his back foot, and I'm like, I don't like seeing bad behavior getting rewarded because he didn't have to throw off his back foot. He just kind of just – and it was amazing.
I remember that. That was like week 1 or 2 when he did that. I was like, come on, man.
And he's a physical freak, but if only we had, I want to say if only we had some indication that this could happen, but I didn't really watch him play enough in college because he only played like 10 games, I think, and they weren't even that good. The fact he can't complete it, he was barely a 50% passer in the SEC, and now he struggles to complete passes in the NFL. It's not again, he's the measurable. He's built like a fucking, he's a freak of nature athlete. He's still a kid too, by the way. He shouldn't be playing. He should be fucking learning. But we're never going to get any better just being thrown into the fire with when you're a raw talent.
Yeah. No, he's supremely gifted, but he needs to get that under control, or else he's just going to be, everybody's going to be like, I can fix him, and like, no, he's going to get you fired.
Like I said, that crazy girl.
He's going to get you fired. Titans, Will Levis. We'll probably take over Will Levis.
Let's put it this way: when the Dolphins played the Titans, and when Mason Rudolph was the best quarterback on the field, it's a fucking scary situation in football. We know he is not good, and when he got out there, he was like, "Oh my God, the Titans actually look like they got something here." By comparison to Will Levis, again, Will Levis has the measurables. Just for some reason, I mean, the dropping to your knee after throwing an interception, and
oh my God.
And when your coach has to say, he's an adult, so you actually have to remind him to say he's an adult. Like, these aren't really. You're supposed to be a leader of men. Like,
yeah, you know what's crazy is that I followed the Titans the last couple of years because I'm a Dolphins fan, and the Dolphins, let Ryan Tannehill go the year we tanked, and Tannehill ended up with the Titans. So I followed the Titans pretty closely since Tannehill went there and had a few good seasons. Boy, last year, Titans fans swore that Will Levis was it. Boy, he was the man. He was that dude. Like, oh, my God. He came in. Tannehill got hurt. He came in. First game, threw 4 touchdown passes. They thought they had a Hall of Famer on their hands, and now they're regretting it because he looks awful.
Yeah, we got to pump the brakes on this a little bit, okay? Like, it's funny how usually you had to have, like, this is something I look about how we react about anybody. Remember for, like, a long time we still weren't even ready to say that Tom Brady was better than Joe Montana, and then he won the Tampa Super Bowl, and we're like, all right, I guess you can say he's better. But, like, up until that point, he was still like, yeah, we got some things against him, and now we already got Mahomes ahead of fucking, of Brady. Which is like, come on, let the guy go in the Hall of Fame as the undisputed GOAT before we do this, because we're setting ourselves up for what if Mahomes doesn't win another Super Bowl? Now he's going to be a failure? Like, that's going to be the way it's going to be looked at.
See, that's a conversation for another day, because I don't measure the best by championship, though. Championships are part of it, but I look at what you do. Like, people say Michael Jordan's the GOAT because he's 6-0. Like, that's not why Jordan's the GOAT to me. Like, Jordan's the GOAT to me because on a basketball court, like, he's the best, the most complete player I've ever seen. Plus, he's a leader. Plus, he wins. Same thing with Mahomes. At the end of last year, I was like, ask the question, like, is Mahomes now the GOAT, even without the 7 chips? Like, not everyone, it's going to be hard to get to 7 championships, but like the way he plays, like maybe Mahomes, like on the football field, just the way he plays, because he can do things that Brady can't do, and he wins. So I think it's a fair conversation. Patriots fans aren't going to like it.
Let's stay on the conversation about the quarterbacks and Trevor Lawrence, because that could be a whole different conversation we could have there.
Let's get back to the list, man. All right. So AFC South, he's better than, we'll say, Anthony Richardson and Will Levis. AFC North, he's not better than Lamar. He's not better than Burrow.
Him and Justin Fields are one and the same. And you know what's funny? When they were coming up,
Fields.
You know what's funny is that when they were coming up together through the ranks, they're from the same class.
They were 1 and 2 the whole time.
Fields, but the thing is, when they would compete, the whole thing was when they competed in all the drills and all the camps and all off-season things, it was that people were just as impressed, if not more, with Fields.
Yeah. Fields was more gifted athletically.
I think, again, he's not a pleasant, or he seems like you got to walk on eggshells around him a little bit, you know? Like, he seems a little bit mentally flaky. I don't want to say flaky, but
Justin Fields?
He seems a little temperamental, but not like
really?
Any way. He just kind of seems like his there was times seeing him on the Bears, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, they weren't a great team, but he just looked like he didn't want to be there. Like, he was like, you know, like...
Would you want to be there? Like,
no, but
Caleb Williams walked into, when the team that Justin Fields walked into. Not saying
they
Justin Fields is better than Caleb Williams, but 2 totally different situations, man.
Totally, but I mean, yeah, he just he seemed to have the, I mean, like when they, you know, I don't know, I'm something about, and I'm just lost touch with the younger group. But when I see the guys doing the breathing exercises and stuff during a game, it's like this isn't. There's some words that coaches would have said about guys like that when I was around playing sports, and we can't say them anymore.
You're old school. Me and you are old school, so the kids would call us old heads now. So
yeah, no, I mean, it's the sad thing. It happened. I don't know when it happened, but it did. I became one of them.
Yeah, you got to be a little bit more sensitive with guys nowadays. So, all right, so maybe him and Justin, I would put him slightly above Justin. Deshaun's a wreck right now. So
what kills me is Deshaun was as good as he was. He was as good as any for a little bit there. And I mean, I don't know if him being the guy that he allegedly is off the field was like making him the animal that he was on the field, but he was with the betting on guys. Like, I mean, I remember watching Deshaun Watson against the Raiders basically being blindfolded by a tackler and throwing a pass for a touchdown in a comeback. Like, he had that it factor.
No, Deshaun was that guy, man. To see what he's become now is sad, and it's definitely playing on his mind. I think so. I think the allegations, the time off, like, all of that is like, there's no way, like, you could still be there and be sane after going through all that. Like, it has to be mental at this point, because you don't just forget how to play football, dude. Like, the guy was up there, like, with the top 3-4 quarterbacks, and all of a sudden, he can't go a spiral, bro.
Well, there's that portion, but when you go almost 2 years without playing football, like, have we ever seen anybody make a quarterback I mean, even if you weren't, like, playing, you were at least on a roster, you were in practice and still doing things. He, like, legitimately didn't do anything for almost 2 years. And then he got paid, which is also, like, what's your motivation at that point? Like, if he had a performance-based contract for that amount of money, I'm sure he would have gone a little more seriously, and that's kind of something I think is really ruining a lot of football now, or really just American athletes in general, is that we're paying people before they've done anything, and, you know, it takes away that fire and that willingness to get great, I guess. You're just content with being good. And that's the difference between – the margin between these guys being at that level is this much.
Yeah, I've talked about that on this podcast plenty of times. I mean, I want to see guys get paid. I don't want to be a hater and pocket watch, but at some point it feels like because they make so much money so quickly, it's like, what is your incentive, like, to actually reach for greatness? Like, what is your incentive to try to be as good as LeBron was when you get paid more than LeBron has gotten paid his entire career in your second contract? Like, you have no incentive to do anything after that.
Well, that's like, you know, we look at, like, I mean, fucking shit, Kobe Bryant's never fucking – so Kobe Bryant fucking, you know, if he never was a basketball player, would have had a decent life because his father fucking, you know, was an athlete. So not like he would be, like, you know, living the life of glamour, but he never had to struggle through life necessarily. But he was just wired differently. That's, again, a pain in the ass to deal with, but because he still was practicing – I love the Kobe Bryant quotes of, like, you know, we're going cross sport here, but, you know, he – prepared like he wasn't great, but played like he was. You know, prepare like you're nothing, but when you're out there, you're everything kind of deal.
Yeah.
And I don't think guys put in those extra work, and like that, like the way that Brady, the way his off season would go. I think the guy maybe took like 2 weeks off in the off season, and then he's already back to the next year almost. And I think guys are now like, well, I can go on vacation.
Yeah, the Bradys, the Mannings, like these guys, you can tell they studied, like they mastered quarterback position. I don't see many guys like mastering the quarterback position anymore. It's like they could play, they're athletic, they got strong arms. But these guys, Brady, knew what you were running before you even knew what you were running. Like, Peyton Manning, knew exactly where every gap and every freaking defense was. Like, yeah, you could say they were blessed with a little bit of, they were gifted in that sense. But a lot of it was just straight hard work and studying. And I don't know if guys are still doing that.
And also the thing, too, is that, you see some of the great throws that those guys made. You got to have balls to make those throws. Now guys are scared about if I throw this and they intercept it, I'm going to get killed. I swear it's almost like they're thinking that in their head. As I'm watching Rodgers here, actually, that kind of came a thing towards his, I felt like he got obsessed with the interception to touchdown ratio.
He did. He 100% did. I'm glad somebody said that.
Was the thing he could hold over everybody. I was never going to win as many rings, never throw for as many yards, but you know what? I'm going to be the guy who did this. And
I only have 2 picks this year.
Whether that's the case or not, it's the perception is the reality in the eye of the consumer, as I say, and that's what I saw out there. Whether it's true or not, yeah, it just seemed like he was scared to pull that trigger the way. I mean, obviously his predecessor before was a little bit, very trigger happy, Brett Favre.
Yeah, Brett didn't care. No, I 100% agree. I feel like Aaron Rodgers turned into, he had that one season where he had 40 touchdowns and 5 picks or something like that. And ever since then, I feel like he'll rather just throw it out of bounds than to try to fit it in.
Unless it's Devontae when he had him.
Yeah.
The only guy, because
trusted.
The way he trusts the guy he's with. Once you get in, the circle of trust with Rodgers, it's a tight circle, and once you're out of it, it doesn't seem like you can get back in. That's why he brings his guys with him where he goes. He knows that Alan Lazard wouldn't be in the NFL, but you're on the Jets because Rodgers knows where you are on third down.
I was going to say.
And he's still held. You see that?
Yeah. Ooh, Garrett Wilson's hurt. All right. AFC West quarterbacks. Broncos over Bo Nix. He's a rookie. He's a rookie, but he's 26 already or something like that. We're even when he gets by the time he reaches his potential, he's going to be on the downside of his career. Yeah, he's a rookie veteran.
But Sean Payton has to be smarter than everybody, so he's gonna ride that horse into the ground.
Yeah. So
that Bo freak.
Bo Nix and Trevor. Pat, he's not better than Mahomes. I guess he's better than Minshew right now, so he will start on the Raiders.
It's Minshew, O'Connell, whoever it is.
He'll start for the Raiders. He's not starting for the Chargers over Justin Herbert. I have my own beef with Justin Herbert, to be honest.
I am with you on that one. Of that, he looks the part. He's kind of a Trevor Lawrence 2.0, a little bit of that. And it's funny that they had that one playoff game together where somebody had to get a win. Seemed like nobody wanted it in one half, nobody wanted it in the other.
Yeah. So AFC's done. NFC East.
NFC's awful quarterbacks. I'm just going to say that right now.
Yeah. So we're not taking him. I'm not taking him over Dak, and I think Dak is mid. I'm not.
You know what I heard? I was listening to. If you ever listen to Ryan Russillo, he nailed it. He's like, Dak is fucking Jay Cutler, where we're going to be like, what is he? We know we can do some things, but what is he? Not in the mental.
Listen to that take from Russillo, man. No way he compared Dak to Cutler. No,
not in the ability, but just the narration around him of that. It's this far in, and we don't know whether or not it is.
We know what Dak is, bro. We know what Dak is. Dak is a good quarterback. He's been surrounded by a lot of talent from the very beginning, right? People thought he was more than he was, but really he's a good quarterback, right? And he sometimes makes some plays, but I never thought Dak was exceptional. People were, even though last year I thought he should have won the MVP based off stats alone, right, over Lamar. But other than that, I just think he's just a good quarterback. Anybody who ever thought Dak was some superstar, top 3-5 quarterback, that's either just biased or letting that Cowboy star blind him. Because I never thought
he's Phillip Rivers. He's Phillip Rivers when that was going on.
I don't think he's as good as Phillip Rivers. Like,
Well, I mean, no, he's definitely not as good. I'm saying like how Phillip ranked amongst the guys in his era.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Like, we can compete in games with you maybe, but like we're not gonna. Nobody goes with Dak as the favorite against the good guys, and that was kind of how Rivers went. But Rivers had that little chip on his shoulder, I guess. Dak's somebody where him coming from his situation in Mississippi State, and I go back a ways on. I used to watch guys in college. Dak was the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy, and then he didn't even score a touchdown against Alabama. That told me right then and there that might be the way that you go, where you can look good against bad teams, but against the real competition, and I fucking hate Eagles fans, and I would love for the Cowboys to be able to beat them, but it's just going to further intensify the Eagle fucking fan idiocies,
Yeah. So. What you got with the Eagles, man?
You don't live in the Northeast, bro. You've never dealt with Philly fans, have you?
No, I haven't been up close.
I'm friends with them, but as far as when the sports come on, they become very insufferable.
I mean, I watch the games and I see the stuff that happens in the stadium, so I'm not surprised at all. So yes, I would still take Dak over T-Law. The Giants and Daniel Jones, and I have a take on Daniel Jones, so I'm taking T-Law over Daniel Jones.
I don't think by as much as you would think, though. I think
No, stop it. You're not. I'm not gonna let you disrespect Trevor Lawrence, man. What?
Again, if you were to give Daniel Jones the roster Trevor Lawrence has had, who's the best guy that Daniel Jones has thrown to in his career?
God. Okay, let's say that because I gotta. No way. No way you're going to defend Daniel Jones right now.
We're versus gonorrhea, okay? We're not like it's something that we actually want. It's just that I don't think that they're as far apart as you would want to make it to be. Like,
stop, man, please. I'll
give it to you.
5 minutes because I got something to say about Daniel Jones. Jalen Hurts, we're taking Jalen Hurts.
I don't like him that much either.
I don't either. But I'm taking Jalen Hurts. Commanders got a rookie quarterback, but Jaden Daniels, I think.
Daniels is already better.
I would take Jaden Daniels. NFC South, Falcons. We already talked about.
I might even take Penix over Trevor Lawrence just because I haven't seen him yet.
I haven't seen Penix.
But I know what I'm getting.
Unknown is better than T-Law.
What's that?
I said the unknown is better than Trevor Lawrence right now.
Yes.
Okay. Panthers. Andy Dalton right now probably is better than Trevor Lawrence. You
can build a game plan around him, and with Andy Dalton, you know what you're getting, and sometimes knowing what you're getting, where it's the red rifle, is I guess he doesn't want to be called that anymore, but
he doesn't.
That's what the guy at my pizza shop told me yesterday, and the guy makes a good pizza, so I gotta fucking listen to him. He's gotta, you feed me some good food, I'm gonna listen to you a little more seriously, and that's what he said. So.
Wow. Okay. Fine. All right.
But I don't know, but yeah, Dalton was always that middle of the line quarterback of where we would draw the line of average and below average and above average. He was right number at 16.
Yep, he was the delimiter right there. So we'll take Andy Dalton. Derek Carr.
Derek Carr is a very curious case of.
I'm taking Derek Carr with T-Law. Derek Carr makes no throws.
Derek Carr will just find the time and the worst opportunity of the game to make the worst throws possible.
He does. He
does have the ability to put you in spots that Trevor Lawrence cannot.
He does. Yeah, I'll still trust him though more. Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield, I would take over him in a heartbeat.
I'm taking Baker. Okay.
Baker is a nice. I think that he's a good sign of that if you have a good talent and most guys when they go to their second team, you never hear from them ever again. When they were the top guy and they fade off, you just never go from them. He's went through the shits and he probably had a lot of. He was a very immature guy in college, and as somebody I can speak to myself, Mayfield, Schofield, there is some similarities there. I think that
What's up with you guys, man?
It's just he probably doesn't drink as much as he used to. I guarantee that much.
Yeah. Baker slowed down. You can tell.
But Baker, the thing was, and this was the one I was pointing out to, is that remember the Rams? He got signed that week, and they put him out there, and
Thursday night.
And they were just like, you know what? You just run the show on this drive, and you know what? That made football fun again to him, I think. And then ever since then, he's kind of been on that upward trend. A little bit too much fun. He made that little poke at the bear of Tom Brady by saying, again, back to the whole, they weren't as fun to play about.
He still got to be himself a little bit. You can't take it all out of him.
But his guys rally behind him. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
And really what happened with him in Cleveland is that he was a guy, if you looked at him, he was really good through the third quarter, and then the fourth quarter is when it would all fall apart. Kind of like a Tony Romo a little bit, where Tony Romo got you to places that maybe you didn't belong, and then he would fail at the last second, where it's like, but most guys wouldn't get this far along where he got, and then now we're killing him for an inopportune thing. And Mayfield's last year, he's a tough son of a bitch. The last year in Cleveland, he shouldn't have been playing.
He I remember that. He was getting knocked around.
And if you just looked at the numbers,
he got a broken rib or something, or shoulder. Or something?
What did it? I mean, he's not a big guy and he takes hits. He ain't scared to fucking still go for that first down and take the shot out of bounds. And I think how the NFL refs kind of legislate a little bit, whether you're a likable guy, whether they call personal fouls or not. I remember back in the day, Ben Roethlisberger and Mike Vick, they weren't exactly, you could take the extra hit on those guys, but if you breathed on Peyton Manning, we're gonna.
That's true. Some guys don't get the whistle like that.
And I feel like there's a little bit of like a, good guy code a little bit. He's a good guy. We're not going to,
Yeah.
But with Roethlisberger and Vic, we're not going to go into them. But, what they did, you get a little extra second to get a shot on them, I felt like.
Yeah, well, Cam used to take some hits too. They never called a whistle for Cam.
Cam is also because he's the one guy that maybe when he would take those hits, it looked like he could take them.
He was a monster.
Yeah. And that's what I want with Bills fans, when everyone says with Josh Allen that, look at this. I'm like, well, it doesn't matter how big you are at a certain age. Like, I think Josh Allen's got 2 years left before he starts falling apart.
Dude, I say the same thing. I'm like, Josh Allen has to stop trying to run like a bull every time, bro. He's gonna have to chill out because he's gonna start getting some injuries, and when they start happening, they don't stop.
That hit that he took against the Ravens the other day, I mean, that's a fucking one that he'll be feeling in 5 years.
Yeah, no, he's running around trying to jump over. I'm like, yo, you gotta chill, man. Like, that contract's gonna look real bad when he starts getting injured all the time.
All these contracts.
So Baker, NFC North, Caleb Williams. I'm taking Caleb Williams right now, probably.
100% I'll take Caleb. I mean, like, Caleb, I hate that they set him up for failure in the way of that, again, where he's
too much hype.
How many generational prospects am I going to have in my lifetime? Because I thought that we're only supposed to have, like, one. But, Caleb, you watched what he did in college, and, again, it was kind of like the Anthony Richardson things I think he's getting away with now, where he was just so much – and USC quarterbacks always have this, where they have so much skill around them, and he has an offensive-minded coach, and it's just like they don't play as great at defense. And, I mean, he's got the skills and the raw tools and stuff, but he seems like that he – then there's the other side of it where he paints his nails and he cries and stuff like that. But it seems like his team likes him.
Yeah,
he's learning his limitations. That's what's happening.
I was gonna say, I feel like he settled down. Because early in the year, I talked about it. I was like, I don't know about him. I would take Jaden Daniels up over him. But I feel like he's settled down now. He's less trying to be all flashy and the spinning around and throwing the ball. Like, he's taking what the defense gives him. He's throwing it out of bounds if he needs to. I think he's growing.
No, it's nice to see it in an early phase, but then also, I mean, that was ridiculous if then after he's a bust, like, what the fuck? This guy is fucking 22 years old. Like, he's just done playing football. Like, I'm not necessarily, Bryce Young, I'd like to see get another shot, but realistically, when they said it at the Combine, can they just have you stand in pads with other guys in pads and maybe you would not make him the number one pick? Like, that's going to be one of those ones. It's going to go down like almost like a Greg Oden, Kevin Durant in basketball. It's like, wow, we really missed up this badly with, there's nothing. I never understood how Stroud was not such a unanimous guy. His one knock was not the mobility. He wasn't as much mobile, but then if he had Marvin Harrison, they would have beat Georgia. That's just not even up for arguments.
Yeah, for sure. Stroud, I mean, to me, it's like some people get enamored, like they see one person successful, or Kyler Murray was successful, or Russell Wilson was successful. Short guys,
different guys though.
Different build, man. Different build.
They didn't have to jump over to throw the ball over their lineman. That's one thing I kind of noticed with this, and what really separates things is that Bryce Harper that's baseball. Young, when he was playing at Alabama, he had this poise to him where it just didn't seem like he was rattled. That was gone in 2 weeks of playing in the NFL. I say, he looks like he's It looked like completing a pass was difficult.
Yeah, it looks like he struggles to get the ball out.
You look like Tommy
I hope he gets another shot, man, because I remember people saying Tua was garbage when he struggled his first couple of years in Miami, and then he got the right offensive guy on his side. Maybe the same thing can happen with Bryce Young. I don't know, but I'm pulling for that guy. But
that's as much as you.
CJ Stroud should have been the first pick, though.
You hit on a good point, though. The situations you go into matter so much more than we realize. And right now, I mean, I as a fan myself, I'll say this. It's easy to say I don't think Doug Peterson's a good coach. I looked at Doug Peterson's Super Bowl as that he was a riverboat gambler that just fucking was on a heater. And, the guy called the Philly special on 4th and goal. If that doesn't go right, then they practiced it in a hotel lobby the night before. If that doesn't go right, we have a different story about Peterson in the first place. But I don't know exactly what makes him a bad coach. I don't know football. Ultimately, I don't know, I'm not at practice. I don't know what makes him that much worse. I just know that his results come off that worse. But, I used to get this where I would say a coach was bad, and a guy would be like, well, what makes him bad? And I'm like, and then I realized I don't have a direct answer. I would just say, oh, we lost that game.
Yeah.
But the coaching situation that you come into does make a big role.
It makes a huge difference.
Which is terrible because all these guys go into bad situations.
Yeah, that's why. So I don't know if Bryce Young switches teams, he's going to be some, crazy all-pro. But I think he'll probably look better with better blocking, better. Maybe he needs a coach like Mike McDaniel, where he's, he could throw like a timing offense type of thing, where he's not out there making, decisions on his own. Like the decisions are already planned for him, like with Tua, right? Tua, if he has to make a decision about where to go, hold the ball for a couple seconds, he's not going to be good. But if he knows, okay, hike the ball, I'm throwing a Tyreek, I'm throwing a Jalen Waddle on the slant, on the go ball, he's accurate as hell, he can get the ball there. I feel like Bryce Young needs something like that.
This is not unique to just those guys. I would even say about the great Patrick Mahomes that the first read ain't there. They're just making it up on the fly. Mahomes just has the improv skills that separates him there. But we just talked about Marino before. We don't see a guy standing in there, 1, 2, 3, okay, I'm going to get this off and take a shot, and that was when you took a shot. And they don't have those guys there, which is wild to me that we realized that we killed the running game in all football because we realized it's more efficient to pass, but then we drafted quarterbacks based on their ability to run as much as their ability to throw.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
It's all going to come back around, though. You're right. Quarterbacks aren't doing the whole patting the ball 1, 2, 3, 4th read type of thing. It's like 1, 2, and I'm out.
Watching Patrick Mahomes scramble for first downs is a death by 1,000 paper cuts. Watching Peyton Manning fucking pick you apart on 3rd down and just fucking hit that guy in that one little soft spot, it's paralyzing.
Yeah, it's painful. It's painful either way because watching Patrick Mahomes, it's like, why the hell can nobody ever catch this guy? Like, why is he never caught from behind when you need to catch him from behind?
Right, when he's not even, again, Patrick Mahomes, I probably have a better looking physique with my shirt off than Patrick Mahomes. And that's not saying I'm a fucking chiseled from stone guy or anything. That Mahomes has got a dad bod and he drinks beer like I used to. He just probably keeps it under control.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going. So he's not better than Caleb Williams. He's not better than Jared Goff and the Lions. Jordan Love, I don't think he's better than Jordan Love right now.
Although Jordan Love, we need to pump the brakes a little bit on too. That I love that he half of last year he was. I'm not saying he's better than Trevor Lawrence, but I've said is that he got halfway through.
I agree.
Halfway through last year, we weren't even sure if he was the guy, and then because of the circumstances he was drafted, they had to make a decision. And yeah, he went on a nice little run on there. But because I go on this with Jalen Hurts as we mentioned before. Can you do it for 2 years before I'm ready to start talking about things?
Me and you are eye to eye on that one. He's good, but let's slow down. Sam Darnold and the Vikings.
I am laughing hysterically at everyone that talks about Sam Darnold as an MVP candidate. I will guarantee you he does not get 1 vote for MVP. I would make that bet right now.
Because nobody's going to – that's a nasty throw, Aaron Rodgers.
You're ahead of me, man. You're ahead of me by, I'm just watching it right now. That's the thing right there. That's just, the back shoulder throw. There's only one place to put that ball, and he fucking just fired it right in there. He is the best thrower of a football that I've ever seen. That's the generic title of it. The arm talent in which he has, and he's still able to put that throw in there. That's ridiculous.
Oh, man. Under the guy's armpit. Jesus Christ.
It looks like it's about to hit Terrell Bernard in the back, and then fucking just... look, literally right under his armpit, like you just said. I'm watching it right now in the replay. It's fucking,
while he's getting smashed, too, that's.
That's because that's the guy who came from the old school.
I put Aaron Rodgers at the Dan Marino level of arm talent. Like, those are the two guys where I'm like, they make the most impossible throws, and they make it routinely. Like,
Marino is
one guy I would say challenges Dan Marino in terms of accuracy and arm talent. Aaron Rodgers would be that guy.
Marino with him is where he gets as the quickest release known to man, and the fact that he didn't have the mobility, he was gonna stand in there and take that fucking shot. Granted, probably was on a lot of Percocets throughout, just like Rodgers, but And to think that it's hilarious how you fall in the draft because the guy did a little bit of cocaine in college, maybe. Like, hey, guess what? Like, most people did cocaine in college. Yeah.
Allegedly.
Let's say, yeah. Sorry, I don't want to get sued.
So you don't think Sam Darnold is gonna get votes because he's not gonna last the whole season being that good, or people just ain't gonna vote for him?
A little bit of both. This is the idea of we take a guy that we say him. He went to the wrong situation. He went to the wrong situation at the wrong situation. He went to the Jets, the Panthers, all places where everyone fails. And now he's got a great talent around him. And then he wasn't going to be starting over a rookie. J.J. McCarthy was going to be starting this year. Let's face it.
That's true. That is true.
And it's not like he can not lose you the game so much, but if they're down by 10 points, are you ready for Sam Darnold to fucking lead you to a comeback? And I say you won't get the votes because how many times did Russell Wilson set the world on fire for a couple of weeks to start off the season? And Russell Wilson never got an MVP vote.
That's true. Yeah, I don't think he's going to MVP vote either. They're going to say, well, Justin Jefferson and.
And let's see them get into that schedule. Let's see what he does against the Lions. That's what I'll say. Are they going to play the Lions?
When? Oh, I don't even know.
Did they? I should probably say I'm going to look that if they actually played the Lions already.
I don't think they played them yet.
Yeah, so let's see how he does against them. I think that's what I'll even say a little bit for the Bears. If you look week after week, they haven't been playing the greatest of teams, but they're not a lot of great teams in my eyes too, though. And also first 4 weeks football, that almost doesn't count.
They're still playing preseason ball right now.
Yeah, it's weird how we ask people to play at the highest level at the fucking at the highest speed based on a couple of reps in preseason.
All right, so Vikings, Sam Darnold probably better than him right now, but
Darnold is better, or at least I feel like that he might need to have. Honestly, he might need to have a Darnold-like resurgence at some points.
Yeah. Kyler Murray, Cardinals, NFC West.
Kyler, so we'll go over
I would take Kyler.
I would say Kyler because at least he gets. I'll say this as a fan. At least Kyler's exciting.
Kyler.
Stafford is one of the fucking best. He's still one of the best guys out there.
I'm taking Stafford.
If Stafford has look at what he did. That game that he played, they lost to the Lions. But when you're out there with no offensive line and one wide receiver, and everyone knows you're throwing it to him every play, and you're still fucking completing them, that's just And Stafford's one of those guys who's aged out better, and I kind of say you can tell the drop-off in the quality of quarterback plays that Stafford was like a fringe 5'10" guy, and then the 1 year that he put him on with an actual roster, Super Bowl.
Yeah. No.
And if Odell doesn't get hurt, that Super Bowl's a blowout.
Yeah, Stafford's better. Purdy's controversial.
He's good. And we don't like it. People hate it, but I'm sorry, but as I look at it, that guy has a grace to him. I almost want to say he's well aware of what's going on around him. He isn't scrambling. He's almost prances in a way, but he is in control of what's going on around him. He does it the benefit of a good head coach and good talent. He plays within himself. Again, he would not build a team necessarily around Brock Purdy. That's going to be what's going to be crazy with when the contract talk comes up, is that once they have to sign him, when you pay him like the guy, I don't think he's going to be the guy. But once with without the contract. But I think that Purdy, when a guy comes from being Mr. Irrelevant and still has to prove himself, he's not going to fall off. He's going to keep going. He's probably working just as hard now as he was when he got drafted.
Yeah. I like Purdy. So last year I kind of likened Purdy to Dak, to be honest with you, in terms of Dak walking into a great situation and people thought he was better than he was. I think Purdy's good. But I don't know if I would say Purdy right now. I'm taking him as a top 5 QB in the league.
No, and you get the limitation of that. The arm strength is that because what happens is, and this is what kills, is that they call it a 20-20 quarterback. You can get you from 120 to the other 20, but in the red zone, they need to rely on Shanahan's play calling because when you're not that much of an athlete and you don't have that strong of an arm, it gets difficult to punch him in.
I think he's good, but 49ers fans make you think this guy's Joe Montana. I don't know if he's Joe.
No, not even. It's fucking. He's got. Look at the squad he's got around him. And the fact that they have to. This is what. Which I also. I'm not holding this against him. It's the kind of a thing of Shanahan. It's nice to see that guys scheme to make things happen. Because really, none of the guys in the Niners. I mean, Debo is not a number one receiver. Ayuk is not a number one receiver. Kittle is better at blocking than he is receiving. It's just that he's good at both, really. But when and saying, oh, well, we're looking at him without C-Mac. Well, yeah, C-Mac's going to make everybody look pretty fucking good, I'd say.
No. Shanahan does a good job with that team. I don't know. Ooh, you don't think Debo's the number one?
In the true sense of that, he's a guy that you can design an offense around. But when I think of a number one, I think of a guy that runs a complete route tree.
True. So I wouldn't put Debo up there with like a Chase as a number one.
But Debo's got that factor to him, and so does A.J. Brown, two of my favorite receivers of all time.
I think A.J. Brown's more of a number one than Debo.
A.J. Brown has that ability. With what I was going with this is that they remind me of two guys that I loved, and they both played together at one point in time. Anquan Bolden and Steve Smith were two guys that, hey, if there's three guys there and one of them is those guys, I know who's coming down with it.
Two pit bulls. Yeah. I went to school. I went to school with Anquan Bolden.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. I went to Florida State with him. Yeah, he's one guy like the football team used to come out like as a whole crew to come play basketball on like a Friday night or whatever. And but Anquan will be there during the week by himself. Like he'll just come hoop, and he was strong as hell then. Like we're like the same age. Great hands. Wasn't the fastest cat, but you couldn't stop him from getting open. Like really, like he was a baller. So
I just need to be this open.
Huh?
I just need to be this open.
Yeah. He doesn't need to, wow you with his speed. Like he was just a football player. He was an athlete, man. Tremendous athlete.
And he gets overshadowed because he played with Larry Fitzgerald, but it's like, hey, they fed off each other. That's the best Super Bowl that was ever played as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, they probably should have won too, to be honest with you.
If not for one of the greatest play in Super Bowl history, I'm sorry, is James Harrison interception return. And the story behind that of how he, on the last second, he wasn't supposed to be there because he just made that and Kurt Warner knew he wasn't supposed to be there, but then he was,
Yeah, that was crazy. Okay, so yeah, AJ Brown, top-notch guy. Debo, probably a slightly under AJ I still think he's the number one, but I think he would slightly be fitting below AJ if I had to rank him.
The number ones, we're our age, we're spoiled. We saw real number ones. Those were the guys that, you had, the only way to stop them from catching the ball was separate the man from the ball.
Yeah.
We had Alvin Johnson, all those. Terrell Owens, God, it sucks that he was such a difficult guy, but Terrell Owens in motion, you can't stop anything that he was doing.
T.O. was that guy, man. Golly. T.O. All right, let's keep going. So Seahawks quarterback Geno Smith.
Geno is actually another one of those examples of what somebody hopefully would come again. He was a battle-tested guy. Geno, I remember in college, West Virginia. Up until, and I remember saying, I hope he doesn't go somewhere where there's cold weather or bad or rain or anything, because that's when it would fall apart for West Virginia. He wasn't that guy a little bit. And I remember his coming out party was a game he played in the Atlanta in the Dome, and I'm like, yeah, this isn't a Dome though. But Geno he's been toughened by his circumstances. He's been through the ringer, and when you get a guy like that who still is going out there that still gives a shit, like how much did we laugh when he was going to be the starting quarterback in Seattle that year, and then it's like, oh wait, this guy still has kept his nose to the ground, and again. Geno's a guy that if you're down by 10 points, I still say you got to watch out.
Yeah, no, he's tough as hell. He doesn't care. He plays ball, man. I'm happy for Geno, man, because people clown this dude for a long time. And
starting off in New York is also bad for a mental makeup. There's no worse place to suck than New York.
On the Jets, the B team too.
Yeah, exactly.
The B team. So we'll take T-Law right now over Patriots quarterback probably, over Deshaun, that's 2, over Anthony Richardson, that's 3, over Minshew and the Raiders, that's 4, over Will Levis and the Titans, that's 5. I'm taking him over Daniel Jones, that's 6. You're probably not.
It's not an argument that I would like to say that I'm going to win. I'm just saying I don't think it's. I didn't even say that it was definitively. I just said I don't think they're as far apart as you think.
All right.
You're splitting a little.
So that's 6, and then we come down to. That's it. That was 6 teams that we would definitely.
For the rookies, we got a couple TBDs, I guess we'll say.
A couple TBDs on the rookies.
But your point of saying he's in the bottom third is we just illustrated it.
Yeah. No. So
that was the point of this.
T-Law so he's just not it to me. So I don't think it's a wild take to say, hey, man, he's closer to the bottom than the top. And for some reason, the media is not saying that. Like, people are just covering for this guy. And I think it's the Fabio hair, man. You're right.
It's something to, and again, maybe when you don't have anything off the field you do that makes him an unlikable guy. I mean, being likable does help out, I guess. He doesn't do anything wrong. But, I don't get how he gets the leash that he has.
No.
Because again, if he was
let's go on real quick. All right, Daniel Jones, man. I think Daniel Jones is the worst quarterback in the NFL, and I think Daniel Jones has been the worst quarterback I've seen. Like, get guaranteed starter time. Like, there's no question about his job. In like at least the last 10 years that I can remember. Like, I think Daniel Jones is bad. And people say circumstances and, if he gets a new squad. I haven't watched, I'm not a Giants fan, but whenever I watch Daniel Jones, I don't think I've seen how long he's been in the league, maybe 5 years.
Something like that, because he got a second contract. And
Daniel Jones hasn't put together, I don't think, 5 total games that have been like quality NFL starter worthy, in my opinion, that I've seen. So, maybe you watch him more closely, but I think he's god-awful. I don't care if he switches teams. I don't care if he has Barry Sanders and the Cowboys O-line from the 90s. Like, I don't think he's good, man. He makes terrible passes. Guys are open. He overthrows them. He throws behind them. Like, he can run. He's a little bit of an athlete.
He falls forward every time.
He got overdrafted. He shouldn't have been drafted that high. But I am totally wondering why the heck is Daniel Jones still a starter when there are people, like Justin Fields got clowned and he got shipped out immediately by the Bears. But Daniel Jones gets a second contract. I don't get it, bro. I don't know what you see.
I go based on the 1 year of the playoffs where that he did. You are making me. I have no arguments against you, man. You got me. And this is for anyone of my friends that watch this. They're gonna fucking go, wow, this guy just fucking got Scho. Like, it's. I don't know what it is about him. I think it's, what it is that I listened to this one person that was talking about when the last coach got fired, the last thing he said on the way out is, I'm just going to tell you this one, Daniel Jones is tough as shit. That's the one thing. I guess maybe I like a tough guy. That's where I got a soft spot for the tough guy. But no, you are right. He does fuck up an awful lot, and I have nothing to go on. There's a name that I was not discussed at all, and I actually did a show of my own on this one, the backup quarterbacks, because we think that quarterback play is bad right now, but we haven't seen the backups yet. Tyrod Taylor is better than a lot of the names we discussed.
He is. Tyrod Taylor, so he never gets a chance to like play through his mistakes. So we're talking about Daniel Jones now. Like, Taylor gets a chance to play through his mistakes. It's like, okay, you suck, get out of here.
Which was the one that I'm saying is that when Daniel Jones did get hurt, I believe. I do remember Tyrod should have beat the Bills on a game. Like he
did.
Which that was a personal game, and I remember telling you that I'm not a big fan of Bills Mafia, and the way that they ran Tyrod out of town was just, the way that they, again, you drafted. Taylor's your perfect stopgap quarterback, okay? He's the guy that you want there to take the lumps while the rookie learns behind him. Whether they intentionally punctured his lung in San Diego or L.A., whatever, I mean, that was pretty fucked up what happened there. But I just go on it that when the Bills that year, when they made the playoff run, when it was just a great defense and him playing turnover-free ball and being able to make a play or two a game, and the Bills fans were so ungrateful, and I'll just say that Marshawn Lynch has said some things about the attitudes of Bills fans, maybe how they feel about people that look a certain way. And I was out there, and I kind of I maybe have felt that sometimes when I was watching games with Bills fans.
Wow. Yeah. See, I don't even know that. I don't. My cousin's a Bills fans, but he lives in Florida, so I have no other reference point of what Bill fans would like, to be honest with you.
There's a story that Marshawn Lynch can tell about a bar where he was maybe not really welcome to get a drink. They still acknowledged him and say beast mode or whatever like that, but you can look up the Marshawn Lynch story, and I just remember Colin Kaepernick saying that by far the worst treatment he got on the road in any of that in that season was in Buffalo.
Well, damn. And these guys are like, they're lifted up. They're heralded as like the best fans in the NFL. They're jumping through tables, and they're a good time.
And you know what? Every time I see someone get hurt jumping through one of those tables, I don't feel bad. I laugh at them. I feel bad for their families that they're related to an idiot, but, trust me, I used to do a lot of attention-seeking behavior, but I only have been to one NFL football game my entire life. It was a Bills-Browns Monday Night Football game, and we got in a fucking brawl in the parking lot because I was wearing a pea coat, and apparently wearing a nice jacket, even though it's warm to a Bills game, was offensive when they lost, and I got a beer bottle thrown at me, and they didn't realize the guys I was with were way bigger than me, and they would be very angry if somebody threw something at me, and it's just living in that area. Like I was a big time partier and stuff like that. You'd have people at after hours and be like, "Hey man, you gotta make sure we save some Coke for the Bills game." And it's like, "Do you?" They take it to a whole other level where it's like they just think because they get drunk and shout shit that they're better fans, but they don't know what they're talking about with football. I was a Bills fan at one point in time, and I'll forget the last straw that I had was when they drafted E.J. Manuel, the ultimate looks the part guy. But I had watched E.J. Manuel play every game at Florida State. You're a Florida State guy.
Trust me, when they drafted E.J. Manuel, I was like, ooh, that was the biggest oof. I knew it. I was like, because the next year, Jameis Winston takes him to the championship.
But even like
I knew E.J. Manuel. Like I watched him, like he just never had it. I was like, I told my cousin, you guys made a mistake drafting E.J. Was he drafted 12th or something like that? Yeah, I was like, yeah, that's a mistake. I knew E.J. Manuel wasn't going to work out.
He played a BCS game. You guys played against Northern Illinois. That was a game for a half, which was like, no, that should not have been. Like, he was the ultimate. I'm going to get 2 or 3 good plays, and they would have one bad play, and the whole drive would just go to shit. He could never battle back through that one bad play. It was like
100%.
Something was there. And as a gambler, those are the things you notice. A.J. Manuel was never a guy I liked having money on. I have got a shirt that I had from a game that I lost when they played against Clemson when Taj Boyd was there. I've got a shirt where it was just they should have blown them off the field, but E.J. Manuel just kept making it a game.
Dude, E.J. I think he was like
kept making it a game for all the reasons.
I think it was like the number one player or number one quarterback in his class coming out. And Florida State was excited to get the guy. I remember all the buzz about him. And for 4 years or however long he stayed there, he just one disappointment after another. I was like, man, you looked the part. You got all the skills. But, man, whenever you needed him, it just never happened. So it was no surprise that he left and didn't do that great in the league. And then Jameis comes in, like, immediately as a freshman, takes pretty much that same team. Jameis takes us to the championship.
Jameis's first game in college, which is funny that my exact take on Jameis was, I remember he played on Labor Day against Pitt, I believe it was.
Yep.
And he was like 14
perfect.
first. 14.
He was perfect.
And I remember, here's my thing going, this was my exact take on, I don't know if he knows that he's going to complete those passes or if he's that confident, and it turns out that maybe he was just a little bit, didn't know because those same throws he made in the NFL. But Jameis Winston, the best way to say, he's the only 30-30 guy that's ever going to exist. The fact that, and if you're a gambler that year, you always would bet the Bucs over because there was at least one pass going back the other way for 6.
100%. And if you would let him throw, he would go 50 for 50. He would be the 50 and 50 guy. He'll throw 50 touchdowns and 50 picks. Now he's a gambler. And listen, sometimes you love it, but a lot of times you're gonna be disappointed. I want to see him get another. I want to see Jameis get another chance though, like with a good coordinator who could keep him like under control. Because a lot of guys, Brett Favre was like that. A lot of guys, the coach has to be, hey man, like relax a little bit, cut it out. I don't think he had that in Tampa. It was like let Jameis throw. Like okay, I'll throw all right.
It's one of the reasons for Jameis to have a press conference every week. Like, I mean, because again, we think about, like, remember the whole likable factor. Jameis, had some checkered things that may or may not have happened in college or whatever. I mean, the crab leg things I'm not over, but there was some other stuff that, we're not going to get into. But we don't know. But the fact of the matter is that, one person has that allegation, it follows them for life. Jameis, we just, like when somebody said he goes into the huddle like he just found out a secret, like they just call him to play, like, he's just such a treat.
No, he's a fun guy, man. I want to see him get another shot as a starter, though. I don't know if it'll happen, but I don't know if anybody trusts him to be the face of their franchise now.
rather watch, because this is the thing of that, like people would rather, and I just was guilty of this, I'd say I'd rather take the unknown than what I do know. Like, Jameis at least gives you a chance to evaluate other talents, like that's the guy you put at the end of the year. Okay, let's see if these receivers can go up and get balls, because Jameis is going to throw it there, like. And honestly, the Saints would really love to have him right now versus, I think Jameis can, he's scary for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We'll see what Jameis. I think he should be starting over Deshaun, but that's just me. Anyway.
100%. But here's the thing. I think that they want to get their money. I think that it's kind of one of those. You're going to earn this money, buddy.
It's a guaranteed contract. He's got to earn it.
I think they want him to get hurt, or they may. I think they want him to tap out. I think they want him to quit. I think they want him to find a way of that.
He's not going to. Is that a fumble?
I don't know anymore. I used to know the rules of football.
Tuck rule or something?
Like you ever watch football out at a bar? I remember I used to know what a catch was. I don't know. Like the whole rule used to be if we called this the rule on the Sandlot, would it cause a fight?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, nobody knows anymore. All right, yeah. So that was my Daniel Jones take, y'all.
That still looks like an incomplete pass. He wasn't going to pull that back. That's an incomplete pass to me.
He was pulling that back. He was 100 pulling that back, 100%.
I think
nobody holds the ball down here in front of them.
Well, the referees agree with me, so.
Nah, that's.
They're not even challenging it. They're challenging now. They're challenging it now.
Like he had the ball like parallel to the ground still. He wasn't trying to let that go.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is that also
thank you.
I hate when we watch it on the freeze. But here's the thing with replay, and this is a take I've always had: is that replay. I like the idea of we're trying to get the calls right. If you have to look at a replay more than one, I mean, you made your mind up there, and I'll agree with you with it. But whenever a replay goes on for more than 2 minutes or like 2 seconds, really, in my mind, it's we say it's clear and inconclusive evidence. Well, that says to me that you should see it one time and know. When you are looking at a call for 5 minutes, you're looking for it to be wrong.
That's probably true.
But then there's the whole conspiracy theorist gambling thing. Who knows?
You had a take on the Celtics, this year's championship team. I want to hear what you got to do. So you think the Mavs, the Dirk Mavs of 2011, could beat this Celtics team?
And there's a reason I brought that up, as I was saying.
I want to hear what you say about that. And I'm not going to say I totally disagree. I want to hear what you say because I'm not a big fan of this year's Celtics team either. I think they would have lost had people been healthy this year. They had a cakewalk. I think the Heat would have beaten them. I think if Denver got to the finals, they would have beaten them. I think if they played a healthy Knicks team, the Knicks could have beaten them. So I think they're one of the weaker champions in recent memory, actually. But I want to hear what you got to say.
This is one of those things that now I become an old man to anybody that's younger that's listening at this. Look at who – so the reason I said that 2011 Mavs team is because the Celtics played the Mavs this year. Look at who the Mavs beat to win a championship that year.
Correct.
For starters, I mean, if LeBron James is the greatest player of all time, they beat the prime LeBron James with a prime Dwayne Wade and a prime Chris Bosh. Now, to say that, we didn't have enough depth or like that, cry me a fucking river when you have that squad out there. I mean, like...
No. There's no excuse for that.
And nobody gave them a chance to beat them, too, by the way. And that was a basketball team, okay? That's what I liked when basketball existed. They had... Even the bench players on that team were fucking Hall of Fame caliber guys. When you have Jason Kidd, because the way I loved watching them is that when they would run a break, when they would get that break out there, you saw Peja and you saw Jason Kidd just line up to those spots. And if they were encouraged to shoot three-pointers the way that fucking they are today, holy shit, like that's the biggest one I had where the Celtics shot 47 three-pointers a game this season in the regular season. Do you know how many the fucking Warriors shot when they had Durant and fucking and the Splash Brothers? They shot 32. Are you trying to tell me that you would be taking 15 more three-pointers with that less shooters? It's become a bad league to watch. It looks like when you play pickup.
Yeah.
When you talk about
not even in pickup is everyone taking just jacking up threes. Like the Celtics to me, like, and this is what makes them to me one of the weaker teams. Like, yeah, it sounds good analytically that you can shoot all these threes, but really no good defensive team is going to let you just shoot threes all game and beat you. That's why they lost to the Heat before, because the Heat weren't going to sit there and let you just jack up threes and layups. Like, you were going to have to make a mid-range shot, And I don't know if the Celtics have enough of that in their arsenal. That's why I 100% believe, I don't care what anybody says, if the Heat had been healthy, they were not going to beat the Heat this year.
Probably. I mean, it would have been a much more competitive series. I mean, but again, they didn't have much. I mean, honestly, if Thibodeau doesn't run the Knicks into the ground, that's probably a tough series for them. But that's what Thibodeau does. So, I mean, that's going to be the thing. But let's see how this goes, because there's apparently the emphasis in basketball this year that might get me back into it. They're going to start kind of adapting more of the FIBA-style rules where we're actually going to be able to play defense again, which is fun.
Oh, I hope to God. Please.
Because I played defense and I played sports. I'm not an athletic enough guy to be creative and graceful to do things, but I can certainly as hell shut the shit out of creativity. Like I can make it hard for you to do the things you want to do, not just this here's the layup line, or like. And the way that basketball is going is we've gone in all sports. This is football, baseball. I mean, I don't know as much about hockey, but the analytic movements, it's reached the law of the diminishing returns. The three-point shot was a good shot when you had to worry about the two-point shots. When basketball was built inside out, that's when it made the three-pointer better. Just chucking threes just to chuck threes, which is really what it seems like they do, it's awful basketball.
That's what they do.
And to say that everyone says that these guys are more skilled because they can shoot from further away. I use Al Horford as the example. Al Horford didn't shoot like a half a three-pointer a game for like the first 10 years of his career, and now he's a 5 three-pointer a game guy that shoots them at 40%. It's like, what the fuck? You don't mean to tell me that maybe some of these guys, if their coaches would let them shoot those shots, wouldn't have learned how to do it? It's like they're pretty fucking skilled and athletic. They were worried about other things.
Yeah, exactly. No, that I had a whole episode about that when Anthony Edwards says there weren't no skilled guys in the night. He's like, the reason why people think they're more skilled now is because they get to dribble a lot, and they get to shoot a lot of threes. But these guys, the big men, like Al Horford, has zero post game. Like he just stands out there and shoots.
Guy when he was in prime in that other area, he was a pick and pop guy.
Yeah. So he could shoot threes better than guys back in the days. But if you're sitting on a three, what else is he good at? Nothing. So he's going to go ride the bench. Same for a lot of these other big men who are great shooters. Like Karl Anthony Towns, calls himself the best three-point big man shooting ever. Three-point shooting big man ever. It's like, why? I don't need my big man to be a great three-point shooter. To be honest.
He wasn't that much.
7'1". Get your big butt on the box and dunk on somebody, bro.
This is a way to bring this back full circle. He's what, an inch taller than Dirk was?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's a shooter.
Yeah. So I mean, listen. So I think this whole skill thing is, a lot of guys can shoot better now because the coaches let them really, and the coaches let them dribble for 24 seconds before taking a shot. That's fine and dandy. But as far as what true basketball, I don't know.
The thing is that those were shots that were considered bad shots. That's why they didn't take them.
Yeah.
Like I laugh at this one where, I mean, again, the WNBA where they wanted to put up Caitlin Clark a little bit when they showed the graphic of that she shoots from further away than Steph Curry. And I'm like, well, I don't give a fuck how far she shoots from. Does she make them as much as Steph Curry? And then somebody was this one guy he's like, well, women don't make three-pointers at the same rate that guys do. And I'm like, really? Then why is there a 48% three-point shooter there? Because she shoots from where the line is and they get the same 3 points, correct? It makes it a little bit more exciting. But, if you play basketball with somebody that shoots from back there, you check out of the game pretty quickly. You're not going to go trying to fight get a rebound for that shit. You're like, what the fuck? I haven't even gotten into the offense yet.
Yeah, no. I'm thinking if I'm guarding Steph Curry.
If you're guarding Steph Curry, he's going to
post. You could shoot. I'm letting Steph Curry shoot from half court. You can shoot all the 30-foot shots you want. Steph Curry will not. And I don't know why people haven't adapted to this. I know he's great, right? He's impossible to stop. But really, if you're playing defense, if I see another person bite on a Steph Curry 35-footer. Come on, bro. Let him have the shot. So he's not going to make it at a high enough clip to beat you. So take all the 35-footers you want, Steph.
Right. No, they used to do that at a point in time. Remember, Jason Kidd, when he was a primary ball handler, he actually got the rap for the bad shooter because how many times was he shooting shots where he was just throwing something up at the shot clock? But the Rajon Rondos of the world, go ahead, take that shot. You can have it all day. That was his thing. I think Ricky Rubio was a guy like that why his career kind of failed out. Where you need to have somewhat of a shot, but when you are making it where you're the actual 3-point shot, not this fucking way back there, It's, and it's all about making floor spacing, which, again, we talked about the skill thing. These guys have room to operate that didn't exist. You and I grew up where you went to the paints and you hoped you came out the other side. Like,
yeah, exactly. That's because the rules, like, you take a couple of shots, but back then you weren't going to sit there and just go ham, like, wide open shots and free rise to the paint. Like, somebody was going to check you, so I mean, the league is built to maximize this skill, right? That's what the younger folks don't understand, and they call us haters and old heads. I don't mind. Like, nobody in the history of sports has gotten better or scores more with more defense and more physicality. Not in football, not in no sport where somebody is allowed to be more physical with you will you score more. So guys who are scoring 30 now, they're not scoring 30 or 35 if they go play in the 90s and early 2000s. No, that's not going to happen, bro.
And I look at some guys, like, there's some careers that if they took place differently, and a guy that I love him so much. If Rasheed Wallace played in the NBA today, he'd be one of the fucking top 10 players in the NBA.
He'd be killing them, and people don't want to hear that.
And you know who's another guy? Another guy I looked up his numbers on this one. Do you remember Sean Elliott?
Yeah.
Sean Elliott shot, like 5 3-pointers a game and averaged 20 points at the peak of his career. If that guy,
he shot 5.
If he's shooting 10 to 12 like these guys are, then we're talking about Sean Elliott now being a fucking 30-point scorer. And that's when teams played grind-out basketball, too, mind you, he was taking 3. So if they were playing it up and down, a guy like Sean Elliott, who never even gets brought up in one of the best shooters of all time conversations.
Glenn Rice? You remember Glenn Rice?
Glenn Rice was, dude, NBA Live 98, I think it was. It was just that. I'm like, give me the Hornets and fucking just, you go ahead, you can take whoever you want, but I'm going to be wetting it with Glenn Rice and Tony Delk.
Dude, Glenn Rice would be like making $200 million right now, man.
It's unheard. And another one this is one that people really get pissed off about is that if Kevin McHale played in the NBA today, he would just get every basket he wanted to because they would never be able to handle the low post moves. And everyone says that and go, well, don't ask me, ask Charles Barkley. That's what Charles Barkley says, No,
the Joker is basically beating everybody with Kevin McHale's moves.
And the thing is with Joker is I think that Joker could play in the old era, but he's not going to be an MVP type because guess what? He's going to have to
battle somebody.
Back in so this is where I listen because I love listening to Sheed's podcast. You used to look at the guys you had because Sheed, his resume isn't that good because he played in the golden era of power forwards, so he never really got any of these accolades and whatnot. But you brought him over to the Pistons and they won the fucking title. Like that's the kind of impact he could have. But I'm losing my train of thought there. But Jokic, like they used to talk about the guys, like for the guys who were going to go out partying that night, you would look who were playing the next, and the guards could have their fun all they wanted all season. There was a couple guys to worry about. The big guys, you had, the middle of the pack big guy of the Kevin Willis, for example, just a regular middle of the pack guy. He would fucking stand out so much right now. When I brought up those Mavericks against these Celtics. Porzingis, go ahead, take all those shots there. You're not going to go down the paint with Tyson Chandler.
No, Tyson Chandler will beat him up.
And it's like, and that's not, and that shouldn't be a controversial take. And you know what it is? I watched those games. I didn't fucking look at the stat sheet. I can always tell when somebody has actually watched.
Yeah, that's what I do here on this show, right? Like I try to give I watched it, so I'm telling you this is what would happen, right? So, and I agree with you with the whole Mavs thing. Like the Celtics shoot great, but if you're out here and you're having somebody actually allowed to play defense on you, and then you got to go on the other end and bang down low with them, like, dude, come on now. You're struggling.
They swept a team with Kobe Bryant on it.
Exactly.
Like, they made Andrew Bynum fucking punch out a guy my size. Which is exactly how big J.J. Barea is. We heard the exact same size, by the way. And J.J. Barea LeBron couldn't post up J.J. Barea because he was worried there was footsteps coming.
Oh, man. No, I think me and you are on the same page. We're gonna get called old heads. So I don't know if you have any younger friends who are gonna watch
I do have, but you know what? I just like, hey, listen, guys. I was you once before too. Okay, I used to say that kind of shit too, and now like. I used to talk shit. I used to work with this older guy who, like, Jim Brown has a museum in this guy's house. And I'm like, oh, Jim Brown wouldn't have been. And I'm like, then I got older. I realized, would there not be a time that a 6'2", 230-pound running back running a 4.4 wouldn't exactly flourish in the NFL?
We do that all the time. But I feel like this generation has gotten so disrespectful, man. Like the whole plumbers thing, like Like Anthony Edwards of all
Watch
people saying
Sean
Michael Jordan's
Kemp.
the only skilled person from the 90s. Like, come on, man. Did you really watch or not?
Did you just watch, like, literally, if you pull up Sean Kemp best dunks of all time, okay, it's like he's John Morant, but fucking 6'10". Like, it's fucking...
Nobody's doing Sean Kemp dunk. Nobody's doing Dominique Wilkins dunks now. It's like these guys were special athletes, but hey.
But they were confounded by rules and I will say this much, okay? This is where player entitlement and freedom, they reached the, like, it was nice that we let, because those guys were like, hey, you shoot that shot, you're sitting the bench, bro. And that was maybe a little bit, they had to evolve with the game. The Warriors did it because they had to do what they had to do to be competitive. If they did what everybody else did, it's kind of like if you've ever seen the movie Moneyball, if we do the same thing these guys do, we're going to lose. We got to be different a little bit. But now we have a copy of a copy. We have people playing Steph Curry basketball without Steph Curry.
Without Steph Curry. That is 100%. And I feel like that kind of basketball has cost people championships. Like, that kind of basketball cost the Rockets their championship because 27 straight threes and nobody wants to go into the paint or take a mid-range jump shot, that costs you a chance at a championship. So a lot of teams, yeah, you can shoot, but when it matters, can you actually shoot and make it? And a lot of guys who are making 40% in the regular season, in the playoffs, they're not doing a damn thing close to that.
So I'll say this, a guy like Durant, he probably gets beat up a little bit, but he's still scoring 20, 25 points in any era of basketball.
KD, no doubt.
James Harden's lucky if he's a 15-point-a-game scorer, if they fucking actually, none of the bullshit fucking foul stuff.
No, without the foul call. You know what I'm going to say about James? Like, James Harden can actually play basketball when he wants to. When he stops foul baiting, he can hoop. Unfortunately, it's ingrained in him now to, like, run into people, like just like Joel Embiid. Like, Joel Embiid can score in any era, but he's just so used to it now to where he can't help himself but foul bait.
James, so like a guy like Joel Embiid would be a guy, but he wouldn't be the guy in previous eras. That's the big difference. He would get shoot up, and I always loved it because I used to have to deal with the old heads when I was a kid. The guy that all Shaq does is dunk. Well, does he get more points for fucking shooting mid-range shots? I mean, wouldn't you want him to take the best shot possible, which is dunking it and taking men against their will? Like,
Shaq's skill is underrated.
He was a hell of a passer too.
Shaq could actually like people try to compare, say, well, Giannis would ball back in the days because if Shaq could do it, Giannis could do it. No, first of all, Shaq is 350 pounds. Secondly, Shaq had way better post moves than Giannis. Like, Shaq could actually get the ball, spin, like pivot. Like, Giannis has none of that. Giannis is just at the top of the key and straight line dive to the rim. It's not like it's a turnover.
And well, again, too, that this is like we can kind of put this into a football thing. Remember when the Legion of Boom Seahawks are like, well, if we do pass interference every play, they're not going to call it every play. And that's what happened with the NBA and the traveling and the carrying. It's like, hey, they're not going to call this every play. And you watch it, and it's like, well, it's a big fucking deal because if you watch. This is what I love about YouTube. There's two things I love about it. During the freaking COVID era, when I started changing things up in my life a lot, actually that was the bottom of it, but during the COVID era, during The Last Dance, I used to go and watch all those original broadcasts, okay? And two things about that one were the game, when there was a play, whether there was any controversy to it, the game just started right back up. That was a huge, big thing with it. But then the other thing was that you would get guys called for carrying and travels. Like, it actually happens. Like, so you're not more skilled because you can make a better highlights. You have rules that did not exist before. I mean, when I see a guy take 3 steps and then dunk it, that's not impressive to me.
Not at all.
I mean,
they change the rules. They say it's a gather step, and like, no, bro. You guys are getting to travel. The guys back then, imagine Michael Jordan getting the extra step, bro. Like, come on, man. The guy was scoring 100,000 points.
Right. I mean, they gave him a little bit of the – and again, guess what? You earn the right to get those push-off calls, and stuff like that. That's, and you make it, like, because everyone can watch the replay against Byron Russell and say push this off, but in real motion, it doesn't look that way. Or, you give that guy the benefit of the doubt is always what I would say.
Nobody's going to make that call at the end of the game like that. Like, last second, like, if the ref blew that whistle – come on, man. Oh, my God.
But it wouldn't have been the worst thing because guess what? It sets up a Game 7. And that's the whole thing of that everyone wants to say when something happens the way that it's predictable to happen or when it doesn't have the way it's obviously was fixed or it's rigged. And that's the fucking, then why are you watching?
Well, as long as your team is winning, it's not rigged. Once your team loses, then it's rigged. So, Yeah.
It's the most annoying thing in the world. Like, this is what I love the most, is that everybody hated the Patriots. You know that they were the best team to ever fucking bet on? Where, like, you know, because people hated the Patriots, I could get them at a value bet, I would say. Like, Belichick and Brady, the best combo ever, and they were they were never as big of favorites as they should have been almost. Like, you know, because
that was if you wanted to make money, I guess.
That's what I'm into. I mean, you know, I'm the guy who just kept his mouth shut, and I'm sorry, this is probably well, you're not a Falcons fan, but down in your part of town, it's probably, but, like, I'm the guy who, when it's like, here's the weird thing, football scores are always so misleading, okay, and it's 28-3 is really 4.5, or, you know, it's you know, like, because they're doing that there, and it's like, okay, it's just got to be the one possession at a time, and that's where, like, you know, that's the difference between the mental resolve of these guys, is that they're just looking for that next possession, and then suddenly you start putting that heat on. I can't stand watching a basketball game now where you're up by 20 points, and I can't fucking say that, you know, 5 minutes from now you might be down by 7. That's not good. That's not good.
Say it's over. I hate it. I hate it because nobody's playing defense, and everybody's jacking up threes, even when they're up 20. Nobody's running an actual offense and playing smart and slowing the ball, and none of that happens. Like, people play when they're up 25 as if they're up 2. Like, bro, like, slow the ball down. Like, they don't have enough possessions to come back if you actually take good shots, bro. Like, anyway.
Just thought of a take I was going to have, though. This was about the Harden thing. When he could ball, he wanted to. Do you remember when he was on Oklahoma City? He was one of the primary ball defenders of LeBron.
He was.
And he was not, I mean, it was tough that where, here's my thing with LeBron, like, yeah, like, I don't get impressed when he does well because, yeah, look at you, you should. It's like Aaron Judge in baseball. When Aaron Judge hits a home run, I'm like, well, look at the fucking guy. He's a fucking, like, you know, he looks like the kid who has to show his birth certificate to be able to play. Like.
Oh, shoot. No, you're right. Now, I mean, listen, because of that, though, people give Bron the nod as the GOAT player, right? Because he's so big, he could play different positions, he could defend multiple positions and all that. But to me, I don't think that puts him in a he's in a GOAT conversation. But to me, it's still.
He's got a great resume. That's really what it comes down to. Is that, and you said you don't look at the championship. You're comparing resumes. That's if we want to do that. But if we're going to compare actual abilities, I've always hated that there was ever a LeBron and fucking Jordan conversation, because it always should have been LeBron and fucking Magic. That was always should have been the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, he'll probably get the nod over Magic because
Magic
wasn't much of a shooter and Magic wasn't much of a defender, right?
But I always go too. My dad was a guy who grew up loving the NBA, and then he kind of, like, you know, in the 90s kind of stopped even liking it or whatever. And he always said, he's like, you know, it was kind of funny. The conversation was always whether it was Wilt, Kareem, or Bill Russell, and then Michael Jordan came along, and those guys just disappeared.
David Stern. Thank you, David Stern.
But I mean, and not for other too. I mean, for Michael Jordan, like, I mean, you're around my age or around the same generation. We didn't have any choice as to whether or not to think Michael Jordan was the greatest, but he actually, like, when we look back and see that,
like,
and we don't.
It up.
When Bob Knight's, when you're not even in the NBA yet, is saying, I think he's going to be the best player ever, I'll take Bob Knight's word for it, you know? Like,
yeah, well, exactly. Now, the thing with Jordan is that, like, as a Bulls, I was a Bulls fan as well, right? So I started watching basketball in '89, like right before they took off. So Michael Jordan, as a Bulls fan, like, you knew, like, he was gonna find a way to win the game no matter what. I don't know if LeBron fans, and I say LeBron fans because he's hopping around, I don't know if LeBron fans can feel that way. Like, LeBron, he'll put up some great stats, but end of game, you don't know how he's going to react. He might hot potato the ball. Like Michael Jordan, he might not make every shot, but he sure damn made you feel like he would make every shot and never miss it. And more often than not, he was making the big shots.
My issues with LeBron James is that I graduated high school the same year as him, so it kind of makes me not believe in God, because if there is a God, he clearly likes one of us more than the other one. You know, we're talking about him whether he's being the best one. Me, I'm sitting here on 160 YouTube subscribers hoping that a couple of you guys join along with me. So, you know, like, advantage LeBron on that one, I guess. But this is where I go on to the ultimate compliment I could give to him. This is what you can never say about LeBron. When I was in the 90s, when I was just about becoming a teenager, there was two athletes that were taking the world by storm, and I couldn't stand them. They were Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan. You want to know why I couldn't stand them? They made the games not exciting because I knew they were going to win. And then when I got to be a little bit older and I saw Tom Brady doing that, I'm like, hey, you were hating on greatness while it was happening. You got to appreciate this because it only comes along so often. But the fact that I could say you were so good you made it unfun to watch because I knew you were going to win, who else are you saying that about?
Nah, that's true.
That's what's going on with Mahomes right now. I mean, look, Mahomes has got that, like, every team is Tiger Woods, when he was making his charge on the back nine, everyone else was just imploding around him because I got to keep making birdies because that guy's going to keep making, and then it's taking you out of your game. And that's the whole thing where, like, the teams now, they do that. It drives me insane at the end of the game where teams like, oh, do we want to try to score? Do we not want to try to,
give Mahomes back the ball?
And unfortunately it's just because the Bills' fucking defensive coordinator is a fucking idiot too. I mean, just squib kick it first off. That's the easiest one. I mean, I hate going down this one again, but once the 13 seconds happen, but then you can say that people will go, oh, well, Josh Allen can't win the big one. The guy left the field with 13 seconds in a anymore. And if Stephon Diggs fucking catches a ball that he should have caught last year, maybe he takes him down last year. I lost a lot of money on that game. I'm still sore about it.
I see. I can tell.
So
we're not gonna stay on that one too much. Yeah. Josh should probably have a ring right now. If 13 seconds. All right, let's keep going. So Monday Night Football is over. We're about an hour and a half. So I did want to talk about the whole gambling thing that me and you talked about. First of all, right?
It's awful.
We talked about gambling becoming a problem, and I've had a whole episode on this. I feel like gambling is becoming an epidemic. It's too easily accessible now. Everybody's gambling. Kids gambling. Their financial aid, like it's a mess. So it brought my attention to the whole David Montgomery thing, and that's just.
That was, yes, the worst episode. The greatest episode I ever recorded is the worst episode I ever recorded. I recorded an hour where I was ranting like I was just a second ago, and my mic wasn't on. So I still have the. I don't know if I sent you the link, but you can watch me. You did. No audio. The only time that there's audio is when you can hear my intro music. That's the only time. So.
Send me that link. I need to check it out. So, David Montgomery thing, the Ohtani thing. You don't think Ohtani bet?
100% once, because I read the brief on it, and here's what's funny. I have this I'll tell you right now, Mike. I had this documented from the whole time the thing started. Is I'm like, this is something off. I'm somebody who followed. I started going to more baseball games. I could tell you right now, if you have the time and money, if you just take videos of Shohei Ohtani, you're going to get a bunch of views, and they're going to come from Japan. The guy's bigger than everything. It's not consistent with the man who he is. When he was in Japan coming up through the ranks, he was making what he was making. He only asked for a small allowance. He still lived in the dorms of people. He is one of those guys I talked about who cares about being great. Unlike American athletes who once they get paid, they just do this. They keep fighting for this. I said from the get-go, for starters, if you look at a picture of Ippy Mizuhara, I hate saying that's the name of the translator, he has the same haircut as Pete Rose. Already a fucking red flag to me. He has the Japanese Pete Rose haircuts. That was always my first go.
Come on, man.
Second off, as I said, this is not too crazy for me, is that how do we know when he is the gatekeeper of what is communicated to and from? The guy got caught trying to impersonate Ohtani, trying to draw money out of a bank account. That's not even up for argument.
$40 million, bro.
I understand. So again, they found that there's a 37-page Department of Justice summary. Have you read it? I need to ask you that one. Okay, then.
I don't need to. $40 million?
I want to read it when they have over 100,000 text messages between Ohtani and Mizuhara, and not one of them is incriminating. Do you know how hard it would be for him to be putting in this act and still being the guy that he was? It's fucking. It makes all the sense in the world to me, because also one of the reasons we're talking to me about this is that I come from the world of gambling.
Yes.
I know how this goes. And it's feasibly impossible. First off, the other thing too would be he wasn't betting on baseball. They never had to worry about that. He was betting. The only thing he would have been that was a crime was betting with an illegal bookie, which they could have some leniency. Much like if Pete Rose ever fucking cooperated, which is why he belongs to fucking die not being in the Hall of Fame, and was also a horrible human being outside of that. I have no problem saying that one. And if you want to go down that one, I've also read the entire Dowd reports where all the facts are in there. I understand how, listen to yourselves, we're going based on ESPN's wonderful journalism, because ESPN never gets anything wrong, by the way, right? That's how this whole story broke, was fucking them. They have a vendetta against baseball. They have nothing to, they do not want to help baseball out whatsoever. They broke this story irresponsibly. They broke the story irresponsibly. And I'm going to tell you, look through the report there. They fucking caught this guy trying to impersonate
Ryan, $40 million leaves your bank account.
He doesn't fucking. Do you not understand the part that he doesn't value? He doesn't. We look at things the way Americans look at things. He doesn't. He never checked that bank account. They have proved it. It was never accessed from any one of Shohei Ohtani's devices. Every time that account was accessed, it was accessed from an IP address on Zahara's. And it's tough for me to have this conversation with you when you're telling me you haven't read the evidence.
I have not, and I don't care to read it because listen.
I
know a cover up when I see one. All right. Ain't
Wait,
no
well,
way
$40
freaking million is leaving my account, and I'm saying, oh man, I didn't know, bro. Stop.
When you're not reading the evidence, that's just you. It was very easy to believe. I get that, but for the word go, as I said, I guarantee you, when the bookie has never ever met, he's never been in the same room as Ohtani. It's all just fucking through this interpreter. That when a guy is that diseased, he fucking is making it all up, and it's in a Department of Justice. You think the government covered for Shohei Ohtani? That's what you're insisting right now.
Money, cash rules everything around me. Cash rules everything. That's all I know. That's what I know. That cash rules everything around me. That's all I'm gonna say. But enough of Ohtani.
So you're just admitting to a rational thought. You made up your mind.
No, 100% is. It's 100%. Listen, man. I have a hard time believing $40 million leave somebody's bank account.
Based on a Wu-Tang lyric we're going on this one? That's what your evidence is? Not a
I have a hard time believing $40 million leave somebody's bank account and they like have no clue what happened.
I also have a hard time believing a guy would defer a $700 million contract, but he did it.
That's just me. I'm not a millionaire, but if $40 leaves my account, I know $40 leaves my account, all right? I'm just telling you.
But the evidence is all there, my friend, and you just choose to ignore it. That's the problem. You're going based on stories and circumstances and a guy who's seen a few too many movies, my friend.
That's just me.
I'm curious what your fan base thinks of this one. I want you to come at me on the Scho-Zone with this one, because I got episodes from the day the story broke. I'm like going, I get you, this guy was impersonating Ohtani, and he was busted trying to withdraw money, pretending to be Ohtani. It's verified on there. And then, in fact, where the whole thing came crashing down was that the guy, when he couldn't pay up, was like, hey, I've got Ohtani right here. Can I ask him about this? And Ms. Zahara flipped out on this one. It never made sense to anybody. I know it. I get it, but it's just you guys choose to ignore. You just don't want to read a double-spaced 37-page document which would tell you everything you needed to know, and it doesn't make for a good story to say this. But I'm sorry, you're not even a baseball guy, from what I understand. So like, it's kind of you're on the outside looking.
$40 million. $40 million, bro.
A guy who was making millions of dollars in Japan that was asking for a $10,000 allowance. The guy does not value things the way that you fucking understand them to.
You support him. That's okay, bro. That's okay. Listen, man.
I support the truth. That's it's not like if he was guilty, I would have no problem doing it. Why do I have the same vitriol towards Pete Rose when all the evidence was there about him? I've read the legal reports. It's fucking it's right all there. Like
I think it's two different situations. I think the Pete Rose thing is totally different than this. Like this is a guy. He's gonna play the innocent card, right? Oh, I'm not American. Oh, I have an interpreter. Oh, listen, man. Whatever, bro. $40 million. It is hard for me to believe $40 million. You lost $40 million, and it's like, I don't know what happened. Come on.
Again, if you're going to ignore the evidence, that I just don't want to have this conversation as much, I guess. I don't know, but we can go back to the gambling thing of that was fun, and we did that there, and I'm not mad at you or anything. I get worked up about it because,
100%.
You're dismissing the evidence because you know it's going to prove you.
Maybe one day I'll get to the evidence, bro.
This evidence is like it's like the media with Trevor Lawrence. You don't want to be proven wrong. I just, boom, roasted.
No, negative. One day I'll go back and watch.
I'll read it to you. I'll read it to you as a bedtime story. You can keep me on. I'll read it to you as a bedtime story.
Send me a link. I'm gonna read up on the Shohei story, man. $40 million. Are you kidding me?
Okay, I'm doing it.
Whatever, man. All right, let's get back on this gambling thing. So you have some thoughts on that?
So here's the thing: is that I come from the era, and I'm not sure. Did you ever gamble in college or growing up or anything like that?
No, not really. I gambled a little bit growing up, but I never won anything, so I never kept going.
Did you ever have a bookie, though, is what I'm getting at?
No, I'm not
you
Shohei
have to
Ohtani.
put a little effort forth, okay? It's kind of like...
I'm not Shohei Ohtani.
Okay, so I even compare this like with drugs, okay? Like, like I used to smoke a lot of weed, and guess what? Sometimes you couldn't find that weed, so you'd have to go to places you didn't want to go, to neighborhoods you didn't want to go to get it and stuff like that. Some kids at some point in time just started saying, hey, let's just fucking drink NyQuil, or let's pop Sudafeds and stuff like that. They didn't want to put the effort forth that we did. It used to be to have a bookie, you had to fucking kind of be able to put your neck out there, because for starters, they had to be able to at least validate you. They didn't just take your bet for no reason kind of thing. Like you had to have somebody kind of vouch for you a little bit, and you would have to put up money. Usually you had to bet more money than you had, because you wouldn't, you had to bet at least $25, which when you're a kid is kind of a lot. That can be, sadly, that can be life-changing money at those ages, or it can ruin your weekend, I would say. When I bet, it was a bookie, and once you put a bet in, the bet was in. It was over with. That was all you did. Every day, I used to bet the NBA heavily. Every bet I had in for that day had to be in at 7 o'clock, and then the bookie shop closed down. So I couldn't sit there looking at my cash-out options, or if I won, decide to double it back on another game, or lose and try to double it back. I couldn't use a credit card or anything like that, and if I didn't pay the money, well, I don't know what happened if I didn't pay the money, because I never fucking had that happen, so... But it's dangerous in the sense of that you have people that are so easily led. I mean, you have the tout services, all these guys on Twitter who, hey, I win all of this, and they can fake betting slips to make it look like they win all this and stuff, and they can dupe people. People don't understand math, okay? This is what I look at. I've had a rant about this on many podcasts and in many different things about... Just look at the lottery, okay? In the state of New York, at least, the lottery they say funds the education system. And I say, well, that's a fucking real knock-up job, that you fund an education system that doesn't teach basic probability, where you have a 1 in 6 chance of fucking breaking even. So that's just wonderful that you're doing that.
Same thing down here.
But
it's probably the same thing everywhere.
So, but the idea that, yes, you you get these, and they're predatory as fuck, man, okay? It's like, at least like the fucking, a crack dealer gives you your first hit, but he doesn't knock on your door every morning. He just waits on the corner for you. If I have my phone on right here, I mean, I'm surprised I haven't gotten a notification. Just like you'll get, like right now, like during the game, you'll get, hey, if I'm not watching a game, I still get a notification, hey, they're down by 3. You can bet them at plus 130 to win the game and stuff. And most people have just such an education, and I mean, I'm somebody who went broke in my 20s doing this, and then I had the whole thing of that, okay, well, I like doing this. People do win money doing this, so what do? Rather than cry foul about rigged and stuff like that, I started studying the process of how the industry works. But we maybe, like, the original prop bet was William Perry to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Now the idea that movie Uncut Gems, which, by the way, the irony of that movie is that the guy gets killed. I'm sorry if you haven't seen it, but the guy gets killed at the end. Well, let's just say that it's a guy, I'm sorry, it's a couple of years old, but it's a movie that there was... Being able to parlay proposition bets in a game was never a thing before. You could parlay, you basically had 2 options. You had the win, lose, over-under.
Over-unders.
Those were the only things you could parlay, and then you could parlay multiple games. I could never say he's going to score 30 and they're going to win. That became a thing, and it became very predatory how they did it, because they manipulate the math on these, so they're what's called a correlated bet. Well, if I bet a guy is going to score 30 points, it's probably likely his team's going to win. I'm not getting true value on the 2 bets of there. So people are making a bunch of math errors on there. They have constant access to it, where, again, I used to have to call a guy. If they didn't answer, I had that one going on. Now I literally, if I wanted to right now, you can see in the information, in Colorado, people bet millions of dollars on table tennis. Fucking table tennis. Like, fucking, I have more respect for one of the people that they're betting horse racing in Australia. At least that's fucking, something. At least they're actually competing, I guess. I don't know, but it's becoming a problem. All these kids think that they can do some things on it. And I mean, I kind of am pivoting off of where I was doing a little bit of a gambling content related show, because I am someone that gambles. I mean, I post myself playing blackjack every night. And you can watch them. I've been winning more than I lose.
You're a pro at this.
Not a pro. I sell furniture for a living. Okay, it's something I do. It's an activity of mine that I'm actually trying to back off of a little bit, because where I'm going back to the fantasy thing is that the only reason fantasy football became popular in the first place is because gambling wasn't legal. It was a mainstream way of doing things, and that became, what people did about that. Then it kind of became a little bit of the folklore and stuff, but I'll tell you right now, it's the biggest waste of fucking time. So, like, you play you said this is your first year you didn't play fantasy, I think you said, right?
No, I've been playing fantasy for a while.
I thought you said you took a year off from fantasy, or maybe
I wanted to take a year off, but I haven't yet.
Because, okay, so, like, this is what I was talking about with a buddy, okay? So you get a 10-team fantasy league. Everyone puts up $100. The winner is going to get maybe $750. You know, you'll have your cash-out prizes. It's a fucking months of long process that people start researching in fucking the spring, and it's all stuff that's beyond your control. It's basically, is my guy get hurt and who gets the touchdowns? There's nothing skill to fantasy football whatsoever, okay? You just happen to be lucky, and maybe some people...
No injuries and you win.
Yeah, that's really what it is. And last year, you want to know why I quit it, man? Because last year I needed a quarterback. I had injuries, and there was on the waiver wire was Joe Flacco. And Joe Flacco, a guy who wasn't even in any magazines to start the season off because he was fucking retired and should have been doing a podcast like you and I are, all of a sudden comes out and balls out, and now I'm winning money in fantasy football. I'm such a fucking genius. Or the one year where I had Kenyon Drake when I drafted him on your Dolphins, and he was the worst first-round draft pick possible. But then he got traded to the Cardinals, and he scored 7 touchdowns in the playoffs. And now I'm a fantasy genius. Or when the Bills the one year, when Mike Gillislee just came out of nowhere and scored, I'm a genius now all of a sudden. I mean, I'll take the money. I don't mind it, but, like, it's nothing. So I've been looking at this as that on Sunday I sit here, and all of these people are bitching to me about their bets and their fantasy teams, and I'm like, why are you doing this? Watching football already sucks, and you're making more stress out of it. Like, and now people say, oh, you know, we had fun with the draft. You can't get together with 10 of your friends to talk sports. You need to fucking have a draft at it. Like, you know, lie to your wives and tell them that there's a draft, but then just come and hang out and not argue and have some fun with each other. Like, I don't understand, because when you're winning a fantasy league, you get a little bit of bragging rights, I guess. Like, have some fun with it, but, you know, like, don't beat yourself up. I mean, one year they were selling insurance policies on fucking fantasy players if they got hurt. Like, do you know how fucking dumb that is? Like, and then for now,
is that a real thing?
And for you to then now, to the athletes that we have, for you to now have where David Montgomery became suicidal, which the comments section of that was even more disgusting, okay? Because you had people, oh, he's got millions of dollars, but crime, he's a fucking person, okay? Like, that's what I said, I don't get starstruck by an athlete because they're other human beings. That's the fucking way that this works. Like, you know, I don't ever resent anybody. I don't pocket watch, as you said. Like, you know, that good for him is what I say. I would love to have his life is what I'd say. I don't look at somebody who's done more than me and try to take it down. I try to build myself up, you know. That's kind of the way. But that's not what everyone does. That's what they just want to be, fucking haters. And, you know, like, I mean, it used to be like, the only time you used to be able to say anything to anybody, like no players in sports have ever heard it worse than bullpen relievers, because they're out in the fucking stands basically in a baseball game where there's guys like I'm an asshole to people in person, but like, you know, as far as like people I know, and you know, if you happen to, I'll let people be stupid. It's when they justify. That's what I got. I mean, I'll just stop that for a second. But I'll let people do their thing and, you know, go on if it doesn't bother me. It's when they get persistent about things a little bit. That's why I may have snapped a little about the Ohtani thing. I didn't mean to call that. You know, I think that ignoring the evidence was stupid. That's what I meant to kind of say. I'm not going to say all that one, but
$40 million.
It's okay. I'll send you the link, bro. But no, but I just think that, you know, people get all worked up at this, and it's all because they can't accomplish anything themselves. Like, you know, I look at this as that it's a way for me to make a couple bucks on the side, but it's always not. I'm kind of scaled back. So I'm like, I'm getting way stressed out about things I don't need to be stressed out about, you know, like, and I do see opportunities to make something, but it's just now how people, their emotions have gotten into, and this whole, like, it's just with younger kids. I mean, young kids do dumb things. Like, I like the idea when they're talking about in certain parts of the country, like bars, they're going, we don't want people under 30 in these places, because yes, give young kids. But young kids think that they don't yet have enough. They don't know enough to fear anything.
Yeah, they think they're always going to win. They're invincible. I mean, we were all young. We did stupid stuff. So
exactly. I told you I went broke myself at one point. Thankfully, it was to a friend. Like, that was my bookie, and I had to fucking nothing like having to, you know, my buddy who I mailed a check every week to his house that his mother received and cashed for him, and then freaking me having to go over and act like I'm a decent human being when I talk to his mother, you know, like, and she still asks me to the day, are you still gambling? You know, like, but no, I don't think that people are, I mean, especially the younger generation that's a little more sensitive, like, you know, like, that's, they can't, they're going through these bouts of depression and irrational thought, and it's very predatory of the books, because most of it's done on betting parlays. Most people bet their parlays, and it's like, it makes me cringe. Like, two things in my life that I never ever thought I would say, but I was always a habitual pot smoker, and I was always a gambler, and I said they have no reason being legal. They basically are if you're not an idiot. And then fucking now it's readily available everywhere, and everyone walks around stoned with no inhibition and fucking thinks they're thinking with a clear head, and they fucking start putting in bets, and then when they don't go themselves, they don't think the whole thing's through, and yeah, it's becoming an issue where I'm sure that because, again, a bookie would stop you at some point. Like they would, be like, okay, like, you're cut off there. Now you have it where people used to, they're stealing to deposit money into their bank accounts, and like I used to, I took bets in college at one point in time too. I had a guy that fucking signed over a check from his grandmother to me. Oh my God, I was like, dude, I'm like, I don't care. You can take it. You can take as much time. Don't ever hand me a fucking check that your grandmother wrote you. That's
degenerates.
That's fucking sick, man. That's sick. Me, I did some bad shit, but you know what I did? Well, I either hustled or I fucking worked a not regular job, but sometimes I did some things that weren't on the level. But you gotta do it. I gotta do. But I didn't take from anybody else. And even when I did do that kind of stuff, hey, you never get your first bag off me, but once you're ready to do it, I got the second one.
You guys would so on a serious note though, because I feel like this is a serious topic. I feel like a lot of people are struggling with an addiction to gambling and don't know it yet. So when I recorded the podcast episode and I posted it on social media and people are like, well, I don't care what you say, I'm still going to gamble. And I don't think people know, like, they're strung out and they're going to risk their lives and their livelihood and all their money on it. And what bothers me is that the football, NFL is pushing it, the NBA is pushing it, but the players, as soon as they get caught, they're gone. And, you got the stupid, commercials telling you gamble on this, but if you have an issue, call 1-800 whatever. It's all fake, man. And we know what we're doing and we're just watching it go downhill. So there's 100% going to be some kind of depression in a couple years because of this gambling crap, but nobody can say anything because everybody's making money off of it, man. That's my issue with it.
That was the whole thing too, but it's like at least the fucking the organized crime. That was always the thing of when I said it should have been is that listen, organized crime is the one that's taking it, but at least governments are mafias to an extent, and I like the way that the other mafia did it better than the one that we currently have.
Either way,
because again, usually, you have the case of people like in college and stuff like that. You might lose a little bit here and there and stuff, but now you're gonna have people that are gonna graduate fucking in student loan debt that they probably shouldn't have taken on in the first place, and then they're gonna have credit card debt because they maxed out credit cards to fucking keep chasing same game parlays and fucking whatnot, and I hate that as an older person it happened. I never thought it'd be, but I'm the guy that ruins fun now. Like drinking and gambling used to be some of the most fun times I had in my life. They're so fucking dangerous.
I appreciate you talking about that, man, because
I don't say from a place of I'm holier than thou. I just say you don't want to end up going down the road I did for a couple of years there.
No, that's what's up. So when we talked about it before the call, like you told me that, I was like, yeah, I'd appreciate you talking about that. I talk about sports for people who are first time listeners. Like I talk about sports, but I do want to talk about real life stuff impacting us. And I'm sure that I got people listening to me right now who are like, man, I gamble. Am I addicted? Listen, you probably are, man. and the addiction happens without you even knowing it.
So part of what I'm doing a little bit is, and I feel bad a little bit, but what I do in the theme of my blackjack videos on my YouTube channel is that the rule is simple. I bring $100. I put it into the machine. If it turns into $200, cash out, get the hell out of there. I'll be in the casino for 15 minutes tops. I don't hang out there. I fucking, I did Saturday night, but that was a little different. There were some pretty ladies there, and, I kind of like them sometimes, so. But I just try to say, hey, if you're going to do this, you have to, first off, anytime you're going to say, what am I trying to accomplish? Is this to fill a void and have some fun? Then whatever that is, if you have that attitude of that, like I've gone to a casino with friends before where it's like, okay, here's $200, we're gonna act like ballers for a night. You're playing a little bit of blackjack. You get the drinks brought to you, you got the attention, yada yada. You feel like a fucking rock star for a little bit. Then when you lose, you're like, well, hey, that was a good time at least. If you go to the ATM, that's when the issue comes in. And I know this because I just actually had a great phone call with one of my best friends who his gambling actually became a point of contention between us because it's like I get out of work at the end of the day, and I got my friends. Like I used to be a raging alcoholic. I used to go to the bar after work all the time, and who you got, what you got. Like it's one of those things that like I was the guy who everyone needed to get access to around Super Bowl time to get a bet in and stuff like that. So those would be the people like, okay, you want to have a bet on the Super Bowl, and it's like, okay, that's I can understand that. That's we're having fun, It's kind of like I make the thing of hey, if you do cocaine at a bachelor party, there's nothing wrong with it. If you do cocaine on a Tuesday night, you got a fucking problem there, bro. And that's the thing that's happened is that people are finding anything and everything to bet on where. It does bring attention to the sport, but for all the wrong reason. And we talked about this with the purity of sports has been gone. Like, it's all just everybody thinks that they have a stake in the game. And, like, I try to stay in the game my own way, but, like literally right now what I do, I just won my bet today. I have been betting. The only bets that I make now, I take every NFL game. There are odds that one team will win by 1-6. I bet both teams to win by 1-6 points because the games are really, really close. A lot of them are. Actually, for the season, about this was the worst week of that happening, but prior to this week, we were at about a 52% clip. The way that the odds are set on it, I have to win about 37% of the time. So what I just explained to you right there, does that sound like I'm gambling, or does that sound like I'm doing advantage math?
I mean, it's not like you got a process set up.
Yeah, that's the thing. I actually do this where it's like, okay, like there's a little bit on there. I don't just go, oh, I know sports, and then because it's rigged because I know sports, and that should not have happened. Like you said you played sports or like that. Like I used to announce at a Division III school. It is amazing when you have two sides putting on a jersey and you put a clock there, what happens if they play to the final whistle? It's like, I've seen stuff at Division III football games there was not any money on that I would never have believed with my own eyes that I was announcing for. The fix was not in on that one. Like, it's just shit happens. Like,
sports.
And the thing is that, I mean, even the players, I love that, is that players will tell you, don't bet on me. Like, people were saying, like, there was a video of T. Higgins saying, I wouldn't bet on me if I was you walking into a meeting. And they're like, does he know something? Does that mean he's not in the game plan? Like, the idea, like, even with, like, fucking fantasy football, like, we act like we know, like, what the playbook and the game plan is that week. Like, oh, he's going to get this many, he gets this many targets. Well, we don't know why he gets this many targets, and if you know this, you fucking loser on your couch, don't you think the opposing defensive coordinator knows that? Maybe they might do something to stop them from doing that, to get played offhand. Like, everyone has to be, and it's a weird thing, is that I don't think people care about making money as much as they care about being right.
Yeah.
And
I don't know how you can be I don't know how you can be a fan nowadays if you're just straight betting all the time, because, I mean, you really can't trust the player anymore, right? Like, you're going to, like you said earlier, you're going to assume everything is rigged. Like, is this guy off tonight because it's rigged, or is he off?
So this was what
going on.
We were talking about the Jaguars. I don't think a lot of people know this, and if I knew this, but I didn't act on it because I had actual stuff I work on Sundays, and I forgot the game started when it did. Did you know the Jaguars didn't arrive in London until the day before the game started?
I didn't know that. Some teams do come late. Some teams
no, they always, Jacksonville usually, they're actually, the reason they're favorites in London is because they are effectively London's team. But when it was the weather that you guys had in that part of the country, they had a little hard time getting out of there. So they're playing a 9:30 in the morning game in the America time over in fucking there. Like, yeah, they probably weren't all up to snuff. I heard that there was quite a few drop passes, and you don't think about that stuff. I always love this. I traveled the country this summer going to different baseball parks, and people are like, oh, that's their job, you should do this. And I'm like, so if I had you sleep in a hotel room, you're going to wake up and feel just as good as if you slept in your own bed? You want to lie to me and tell me that?
Yeah.
Like, human beings, we are animals at the end of the day, and we do respond to our environments in weird ways. And, yeah, it's just that if you know what's going to happen, again, like now betting Michael Jordan to win is a very, very good bet. I knew it happened, but I guarantee the odds on that were terrible. Thankfully, I wasn't gambling that young, but no, I don't think people know what they're getting themselves into, because ultimately, like, a casino is one of the most, like, as somebody likes to gamble, I use that as a kind of a way of testing my will, because somebody who has overcome a lot of addictions and I mean, I still gamble, I mean, obviously, but, like, a guy who was a raging alcoholic, guy who was addicted to cocaine at one point in time, guy who just recently, actually, like 2 weeks ago, just quit smoking pot, and I had a really, really, it's tough to say that I'm lifting pot into those equations, but if you saw how bad I was smoking and how, yeah, it wasn't good, and I'm hoping to keep that one a permanent decision, but I can only promise today, but
I'm rooting for you, man.
Yeah, no, and this is doing stuff like this. Like, honestly, if I didn't have you to talk to, I mean, I would have been easier to do that, but that's, how you go throughout all these things. I think that I have you can watch through, if you watch my episodes when I talk about the Ohtani stuff, you're going to notice, okay, that guy definitely looks a little off right now. Not as sharp as be able to communicate my message as the rant I gave you with all the facts you chose to ignore. But that's another story. The $40 million, I know you're going to say it.
So $40 million is actually true, though?
That's how much the guy lost, I believe. But and also the guy, to give you an idea about this, is a Ippy Mizahara guy. He filed his taxes as if he was single and he's married. That's what a lying piece of shit this guy is. And like clearly,
people do that every day. That's I've seen that. I mean, that's nothing.
I mean, hey, the person that does my taxes is a certified accountant that is on the level so much that I probably give the government more money than I have to. But that's a story for another day. But no, I worry about that because it's also like, I mean, like I've had this where like, it's tough to develop a relationship with a female probably too if you're so caught up. I mean, like, there's nothing worse than you're out on the dates or something like that and you're like actually like I've had this happen before where I'm concerned, dude, I'm somebody who possibly it wasn't for gambling purposes, but I possibly lost what would have ended up in a marriage that would have ended up in divorce anyways because the St. Louis Cardinals lost the 2013 World Series. Is that a normal thing to say?
You were out there, man. You were lost.
Well, here's the thing is that you like what's your favorite of all favorite teams?
I mean, I would say the Dolphins.
Dolphins. Okay, so you're married, I believe you said, or
yes.
Yeah. So okay, now this would be like. If the Dolphins have a loss, like your wife probably understands that. Okay, he's probably had he doesn't want to maybe just leave him alone for a little bit, kind of thing. This girl wasn't a sports fan. She didn't understand that the night that the Cardinals lost the World Series, when I said I kind of want to be alone tonight, which is pathetic that I said that to a fucking beautiful woman who wanted to have sex with me. But that I said I wanted to be alone, and then she started thinking there was more of a problem that was there, and then. He's trying to insist it was just
you were out of it, man. Damn, you were lost.
I was a lost soul, yeah. Yeah, I was lost.
Well, I'm glad you're found, man. Now, seriously though, I appreciate you sharing that story, man. Not a lot of people are going to admit that they were out there like that.
And honestly, if anybody thinks they have a problem, I mean, I got I'm at the Scho-Zone Podcast at gmail.com is an email. It's a safe place. I can. Talk to me about that, because again, I've hung out in casinos, and there's nothing like when I was in Vegas, and I'm sitting there, and I'm watching this guy dressed to the nines, and he's sitting there, and he's playing a fucking $50 slot machine, and I'm just watching him do this. And I'm kind of just want to be like, yo, dude, what are you trying to do right now? And like, I have friends with that where it's like, the point of my thing is I'm trying to make $100 and get out of there, and I have friends that they don't have a number in mind. And that's the scary thing because they're controlled. Like they're trying to make money is one thing, trying to make a set amount of money to do that because everyone wants to make these big scores, but no one wants to work for them. So they're going to throw together all these dumb parlays and they're like, oh, it's just a $10 parlay. Yeah, when you do it fucking 500 times, that's $50,000, like.
$10.
So as I tell people that, like to make $10,000, my goal a year is to make $10,000 aside in gambling. Do you know how you do that? $27.50 a day. Sounds really boring. Sounds like really tedious work. It is.
I'm glad you have the math down. You got the process down, and good luck. And
it's still fighting the fight because there's the guy on the left shoulder. He's the good gambler. There's the guy on the right shoulder. He's the guy that just says just push it. I have to listen to the guy on the left.
Yeah, or the other way around. It's usually the guy it's usually the left shoulder that's the bad guy.
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah, left is always bad. I don't know why that is.
I'm left-handed, man. I'm left-handed batting. I throw with my right. I bat with my left.
Yeah, the left side devil is always the worst one, and the right side is always the angel. So I don't know why that is. I don't know where that came from.
But it's a tough game, but I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm still behind on my life. I guarantee you. I'm sure that I'm even probably being more glamorizing things more than I am. I like to do what I make my money. When I do it, I pull it out of the accounts and I buy something. So that was the thing I was doing. I went to a game this year. I went to see the Washington Nationals play. Where I'm like, I'm going to put this bet in, and if this wins, I'm driving down to Washington D.C. tomorrow. It won. Cashed that money out. Filled up the gas tank. Bought the ticket. Bought the parking. Went down there. I had an experience I wouldn't have had without that money. I didn't go, oh, got to put another 230, on this. Now, I also had money I accounted for to lose for the bet on that game there, but it's like ultimately having a plan in place. The idea that people will, and this is always the funny one, they'll bet on the 1 o'clock games. If you need to wait till the 1 o'clock game is done to put a bet in on the 4 o'clock game, and this is East Coast, so you know what I'm talking about, you shouldn't be betting on the 4 o'clock game. There's nothing like somebody who wins 3 games on the 1 o'clock slate and then decides they're going to put it all on the 4 o'clock game. And then guess what? You lose that game. Congratulations. You won 75% of your bets and you owe a 10% vig to your bookie. Good job. Good job. Way to do it. And then, I always love the idea of that. People look at this as that, it used to be the fear, which is actually scary with the way that people view the betting apps now, is that Monday Night Football is the last chance to get even. And it's like, well, no, if you're doing this, this is not a week-to-week thing. This is a, constant thing. And maybe because I work in 100% commission-based sales, I'm a little bit more wired like that. Like, I can go to work and not make money some days. So, sometimes I go there and lose money because stuff that I sold gets returned. The money that I got paid, I now kind of owe back in a sense, That's the livelihood I have. I think that somebody who is wired or somebody who appreciates baseball, where failure is a part of it, because, again, as I told you, last year I was in a contest where I cashed in some money on DraftKings. I was 55% picking games, and I was one of the best people in the country doing that. Not many people are comfortable being wrong 45% of the time. And it's really, ultimately, that's the other thing, too, is that I have to ask myself why I put myself through that sometimes. That means that 45% of the time I feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
And I don't have to have that reason to feel like an idiot. I just maybe talked myself out of betting.
Yeah, maybe you should listen. I don't bet. I used to, when I was younger as a kid, bet and never won anything. So I don't like losing money. So that's why I don't bet. But I don't tell people not to bet. I hope people are responsible, but people are going to do whatever they want to do. I'm just going to, speak what I think is right, and that we are heading for a collapse.
No, it's
nobody's going to do anything about it until it actually happens.
the people that win the lottery are the ones that end up broke, okay? So somebody's going to win. The worst thing that can happen for somebody is sometimes to hit that $10 parlay, because guess what? Now they're going to play $100 parlay. I had a nice hot stretch going at one point in time, and I had this happen with myself where I had to take a step back this summer because I had like a 6-month, things were really running hot to the point where I got used to betting a certain amount. And when I lost it, I was like, that's no big deal. And then I started, as I got out of that hot streak stuff, I was like, what the fuck are you doing? You started this off by betting, this amount, and now you're betting this amount, and just because you have it doesn't mean you should. It's having that discipline. So that's why I like to put it away. Or you know what? There's this thing called the stock market. It's like gambling, only you can win and you can pull it out anytime you want to.
As we're talking, Bad Beats is on Scott Van Pelt Sports Center, so just throw that out there.
One of the all-time classic. I remember this was actually. I'll leave you on the bad beat of Bad Beats. It happened because we are getting a little long here. There's this one game called the Belk Bowl. Actually, it was Travis Kelce's last game in college. It was Duke versus Cincinnati. It's the all-time Bad Beats of Bad Beats. I'm out on a date with this girl, okay? And I'm explaining to her how I have a little bit. I'm telling her I have money on the game because I'm telling her to help herself to whatever she wants because my team is comfortably ahead. And all of a sudden, I'm explaining to her, I'm like, yeah, this team's just got to win by this many points and yada yada. And Duke was getting points and winning and gave up 2 touchdowns they were the most freakish style, the pick six that never should have happened type thing. It was a fumble in the red zone, a Travis Kelce 80-yard touchdown, and then normally instead of the guy sitting down and taking a knee when he catches the interception, at the last 10 seconds of the game, he's got daylight and runs off there. And she's like, didn't you? Well, she was like, she thought it was a good thing. She was like, didn't you just lose a bunch of money? And I was like, yeah, that's just something that happens sometimes. The bad beat of this one is that we were having a good time. She had to go to another event, and she was kind of weird about bringing me to there because we had just met, so she didn't want to have to introduce me as not her boyfriend, but this guy I just went on a date with because she had some friends of her ex were going to be there. So long story short of this, she leaves her car because we didn't drink and drive. She leaves her car. She parks it illegally, and she is still dating the tow truck driver to this day.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, what the hell?
You should
Oh,
know.
man.
You should know your platform. This was a lot of fun, Mike. I really appreciate having you.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wild ass story.
I got countless of them. They're going to be on the Scho-Zone coming soon to you. So
y'all check out the Scho-Zone, man. This was good, man. We'll do it again though later on.
I'll try and have you on my place. We'll maybe I'll read you the 37 pages and
do
20 million. But no, we're all good fun, man. I know I got a little animated there, but it's just.
We're good, man. Seriously though, on a serious note, keep up the great work. On the rehab and everything like that, man.
I'm doing it myself. No AA, none of that shit. Just white knuckling it.
Appreciate you being on, Ryan. All right, y'all. We had a good time. Let us know what you think about it. Mike, Sports in the Rush. Peace out. Y'all be good.
I'm going straight to the top. Just put the stack on the clock. I am Ray Allen's a shot. I'm going straight to the top.